The woman screams that she is a true saint, and then asks if they can hear her. After all these people were deceived by a false saint. Well, at that very moment, one of the priests just spits after the lady. The girl thinks that she cannot believe it, after which she keeps asking them for mercy. But when the girl is taken out into the street, people scream for her to be burned at the stake. After all, she must pay for her sins and also burn the false light. A year ago, two men were whispering to each other, and one of them claimed that a real saint had appeared. The friend replied that he had heard it too, and that according to rumors, she was that powerful, that the saint who came before her could not even compare with her divine power. One of the priests asked if another cattle had appeared, and that couldn't be happening. Most likely people who are dissatisfied with the current saint are simply spreading empty rumors. However, this woman deserves such words. At the same moment, someone shows the priest to be quieter and also claims that it is believed that this lady makes demons run away with one look. And that's not all, because it is also capable of healing dozens of wounded at the same time. But they say that there can only be one saint in the world. And if that's true, that Saint Evelina is fake. And the woman at that time screamed, "Have they all gone crazy?" She also shouted for this woman to be brought to her immediately. The maid answered the lady saint that these were just rumors, and they would soon pass. But the girl, in response to this, once again cried out, "Is it really the priest of the boilers?" After all, she said to bring this girl to her, to which they could not answer anything except obedience, and also claimed that they would soon send Wrathban, who is the captain of the Templars. At this time, someone rushed into the room and screamed that they had to run. The false saint tries to put Saint Iris into eternal sleep. However, when the woman wants to object, someone else turns to the saint. The lady turns to him and says that it is Wrathban, after which she asks if he would mind waiting a little. After all, she hasn't finished the treatment yet. What does he agree to? The girl then uses her powers, and one of the knights, seeing this light, cries out something. It is definitely divine power. At that moment, one of the boys cries out to the knight that he saw everything himself and that Lady Iris is a real saint. She cured them all, so the boy asks not to take her, but the woman puts her hand on his shoulder, and turning to herself, she asserts that everything is fine, because she is sure that they will see each other again. After which the saint is taken away. A little while later, she appears before Evelina. The powerful woman tells the girl to raise her head, and when she does so, she also turns to the Holy Lady. Then he gets hit in the face. At the same moment, the knights scream in shock at the lady saint. But the woman just kicks the drunk girl and asks how she dares to pretend to be a saint and deceive the public. And is she really ready to pay for deceiving the people? And did the girl really think that no one would find out that she was practicing evil witchcraft? After which the woman ordered that this lady's head be immediately cut off. The knight looks at all this with bewilderment, after which he turns to the Holy Lady and asks her to have mercy, because he believes that it is better to first study this issue. Evelyn immediately screams out what he wants to say, and the impostor is caught, so what else is needed? The man replies that if this is evil witchcraft, then it means that most likely more like her will appear. Therefore, he believes that it is worth conducting research for now. At this time, the other priests say that he is right, and the lady with blonde hair gets angry, after which she turns around in annoyance. She says that for now, the girl was thrown into prison, and a little while later, the ladies are there. One of the knights asks if this is normal, because this girl is locked in a dungeon with demons. His colleague asks what the guy is talking about, but he claims that he saw it too, and that Mrs. Iris definitely used divine power. Well then, his colleague asked if anyone had ever seen Saint Evelina use holy power. A little while later, the brunette notices several people gossiping about divine power. He approaches them and asks what happened, and also suggests that they stop talking nonsense. Well then, another knight says that this is really suspicious because they definitely saw divine power. The commander claimed that there was no point in talking about it. Evelina. At this time she runs to the basement as fast as she can and opens it. I say that she doesn't believe it. Well, if she gets rid of this girl, then she can definitely get her power back. But when the lady almost pierces her opponent, someone grabs her hand. It turns out to be the commander, and he screams, "What the hell is the lady doing?" The girl just tells him to leave her alone because this woman stole her divine power. So if she doesn't finish her off, she will lose her power. But at that moment, the lady understands what she said. The brunette, at this time in shock, asks if her divine power is really disappearing. At this time, the other priests scream in shock. Has Saint Evelina's divine power really disappeared? But the girl just runs out, pushing these priests aside. And after that, someone gives the order to catch her. At this time, the main character wonders if she has really left the temple since that moment. From now on, the 49th Saint Evelina is no more, and their 49th saint is Lady Iris, and there is no more false saint. Rumor has it that the Templar captain defended Saint Iris as expected of him. Not only that, Miss Iris is so kind that even the crown prince of the empire, Leyon, and the king, the leader who despises the Templars, are on her side. So, now that they have finally caught the false saint who was on the run, there will be order in the whole world, and they must put the false saint into eternal sleep. And also burn the imposter. Evelina, being in the middle of the flames, screamed that she was real. Now the main character reads the book and understands that the false saint who did evil left the novel with a flame as her final sentence. After which the lady lies down on the bed and realizes that she wants to sleep, but thinks that she was the only one who could not enjoy such a happy ending, because in 2 years she was to meet this future in Evelina's body. The girl understands that before she began to live like the main character of the novel, the real her was in the hospital. The girl read messages from her mother, which said that she was very sorry, but it looked like she would not be able to visit her this week. The woman also suggested that her daughter listen carefully to the doctor and follow the recommendations. The girl understood that everything was like this again and wondered if she was really a burden to her parents. She also thought that she had been in the hospital for a long time, and they were probably just busy preparing to pay the hospital bills. The girl immediately wrote that everything was fine and told mom and dad to hold on because she could handle it. The lady decided to write to one of her friends, but he replied that he still had a lot of exams and also asked if she was still in the hospital. The main character understood that now is the exam season, and then wrote that as soon as he passes the exams, let him drop by. Somehow her friend replied that he definitely would and let him know when she is written up. The lady should recover quickly, so let her fight. When the lady showed me her phone, I felt terrible. I almost cried. The girl understood that she actually got sick, not because she wanted it, but because she was depressed, because she was sad and lonely. It was as if the whole world was slowly forgetting about her. People went to the doctor and claimed that no one even came to visit her, after which they wondered what she should do. The woman asked why she didn't read books, and after that, the girl quickly became hooked on the novel that the doctor had lent her. Even if she is in the hospital and there is no one around her in the novel, the magical stories were open to her. A little while later, the girl seemed to have dozed off again. And when the lady looked at the nightstand near the bed, she realized that she had not seen this book before. The lady also wondered if the doctor had brought it, but there was only the second volume without the first. After which the girl thought, what difference did it make? Because she would still try to read it. As the name suggests, Iris is the story of a girl named Iris. The second tone begins with the lady learning about the power she possesses, and it is divine power. At the same time, Saint Evelina's divine power disappears from the great temple with her disappearance. Eveline felt uneasy, and the evil deeds came to naught, and the lady attracted indecent men and also banished well-meaning priests. Meanwhile, Iris used her power to help people. She became close to the 3 main characters, and the main character thinks that she is wondering who the main character really is. And so, Volume 2 ended with the fake saint being burned at the stake. Now the girl thinks that even without reading Volume 3, it is clear that most likely we will talk about Iris and the three heroes meeting seriously. The girl puts the book on the shelf and realizes that she really wants to sleep, but at the same moment she feels a sharp pain. The lady realizes that she can't breathe, and the doctors scream that they need epinephrine, after which they say that the patient needs to be taken to the intensive care unit as soon as possible. The main character's last glance falls on the book, and she realizes that her consciousness is clouding. A little while later, she opens her eyes but sees priests in front of her who say that Saint Evelina has woken up. They also thank the Almighty Lord, and after a week, the saint finally came to her senses. One of them cries out for them to quickly go and bring everything to the other priests. Actually, that's how it all happened, but the main character being in her room thinks that she doesn't understand at all. How could this happen? And if it concentrates, then the memories of this body come to her naturally. This is exactly the same Evelina she read about in the novel, and the girl approaches the mirror, after which he keeps thinking how beautiful this heroine is. The lady has slender arms and legs, bright blue eyes, and peachy lips that go with soft golden hair, and there is not a single feature that does not evoke sympathy. This is a healthy, beautiful body that her past self could only dream of. And with such a body, Evelina probably did not do the best things. The lady moves her robe a little and realizes that the memories are too clear, which makes her completely embarrassed. The main character understands that this girl did not have a permanent partner, and she did whatever she wanted with any man, no matter how many there were, in exchange for one night, be it jewelry, gold coins, or even her position. The girl gave them whatever they wanted. However, she who read the book knows that after that, when the real saint finally appeared, there was not a single person who would remain on Evelina's side. Well, the girl thinks that again she had a rather violent character, and in the end, she was burned at the stake. The main character was sick for a long time, so she helplessly plunged into an eternal sleep, in loneliness and depression. But this lady, on the contrary, was a healthy and beautiful saint. The lady had everything. So the main character does not understand why she behaved this way. Being burned at the stake sounds pathetic, so the lady knows she can't just sit back and wait for such a future. Luckily, she woke up in time before Iris showed up. The characters most closely associated with Evelina's fate are a true saint and a Knights Templar captain named Wrathban, and also the crown prince of the Empire Leyon, and even Aslan, who is the king of magicians. The girl understands that if she changes her relationship with them, then maybe she will be able to fix Evelina's ending. The main character thinks about how to make sure that Evelina's life does not end with being burned at the stake. Perhaps before the appearance of a new saint, it is worth leaving the temple and running far away. However, since Evelina came to the temple very young, the world outside the temple where she has no memories could be more dangerous. Besides, if the only saint in the world suddenly disappeared right now, it would most likely cause chaos, and naturally the Templars would be sent to search for her. So the girl thinks that there is nothing worse than running away and then being caught and dragged back. In any case, the only way to change the future is to be careful in your actions and improve your relationships with everyone, especially with the main characters of the novel, after which the girl decides to think about what needs to be done when Ayres appears. The girl immediately crosses out the option of putting her into eternal sleep, and he understands that it would be better to say that the real saint has finally appeared. As for the male characters who are on Iris's side, she will show that you do not pose any threat to the girl, and the problem will be solved. Well then, the main character thinks about another hero and realizes that it seems her relationship with him is already ruined. A couple of days ago, before moving into Evelina's body, the brunette screamed that they were going into battle in the name of the Lord, an incident that occurred during a large-scale expedition to pacify demons on the outskirts of the continent. For several months, the Knights Templar had been winning victories, praising the name of their god across the continent. Well then, someone turned to the captain and claimed that they had finally gotten through their last battle without any problems, and all that was left was to return to the temple. The man then told the captain to his face that everyone was doing a great job, but that he needed to remain vigilant until the very end. The man replied with a smile on his face that he understood, but at that very moment the brunette saw his friend pierced by the monster. The captain immediately pounced on him and threw him back, after which he took the vice-captain and cried out to the priest so that they would try to heal him. When the priest began the healing, they claimed that the severity of the injuries was too great for their strength, but if the saint helped them, then everything could work out. After which the man took his friend onto his shoulders and asked Togo to hold on a little longer. As he walked toward the church, the top mentally begged him to hold on. The moment he ran into the church, he cried out, asking to call the saint as soon as possible. One of the priests immediately agreed, but a little while later they were still in the corridor, and the vice-captain claimed that he could not do it anymore. The brunette asked him to hold on a little longer because she was a saint and would soon heal him. Well, when the priests silently exchanged glances, the man asked why she didn't come out. At this time, another priest came out and asked Captain Wrathban if anything had happened between him and Her Holiness. Before he left for the expedition, the man remembers how the lady claimed that the captain would not join this expedition. The man asked what she was talking about, but the main character interrupted him and claimed that if he was not there, then other lower knights would have to serve her. The brunette told the holy lady that he couldn't do that, and she knew that the goal of this expedition was the largest monsters. At that moment, the lady spilled wine on him. She did not cry out that this was unheard of impudence, and that he whose duty it was to serve the holy lady dared to refuse her right now. The man then asked for forgiveness, but the lady only smiled and said yes, that of course, Captain Wrathban should take part in the expedition. The man then said that he was very grateful to the saint, but the lady also claimed that then one day she would make him regret it for the rest of his life. The man wonders if those words are holy because of what happened that day. A saint is a person who has been given the ability to serve God and use it for the benefit of the whole world. But right now, she refuses to heal the knight who is falling into eternal sleep after being attacked by a demon. Just because he turned her down that day, the man clenches his fists and asks if she said what she wanted from him. One priest claimed that she told him to get on his knees and crawl to her bed. And at that very moment, the brunette asked to open the door for him. A little while later, he was already crawling on his knees towards her. The lady looked down at him and smirked, then said that everything was as expected from the Templar captain. He stooped to such baseness for the sake of a simple subordinate. The man then begged the lady to cure the vice-captain, and the girl, with a smile on her face, insisted that of course she should help him, because how could she ignore his sincerity when he crawled to her like a dog? After this, although the vice-captain's life was saved, he could no longer hold a sword, and eventually he left the Templars and returned to his hometown. The main character understands that she will definitely not make peace with this man. In the house, Wrathban is a textbook example of a Templar who does not strive for anything except noble honor, and to insult him like that is too much, so the lady thinks whether she can at all correct such an act. At the same moment, the lady hears someone knocking on the room and turns to her, after which she claims that the priest Carus is asking her for an audience and is also interested in what she will order to do. The main character understands that he was a senior priest, but other than that, she remembers little about him. The lady wonders if it's because of JYF Wolvoix Studge, YTV remembers, or because she didn't want to remember him. If she is going to live like Evelina, she cannot continue to avoid him. And the girl says that is fine, and also asks him to come in. According to Evelyn's recollections, I was friendly towards Carus, and this meeting alone with him. If it were the real Evelina, how would she act? At that very moment, the door to the room opens, and a priest enters. He immediately gets down on one knee and claims that he is the servant of God. Carus, I greet the saint. The girl understands that the main character of the novel would most likely act as arrogantly as possible, and now she is wondering what the matter is. After all, she seems to have made it clear that she wants to relax alone. The lady understands that she must act indifferently, as if it were tiring her. The man at this time claims that he knows that he is causing inconvenience to the lady because she has been ill for a long time, but he wants to hear a definite answer from the holy responsibility for the prayer meeting. At first, the main character doesn't understand what he's talking about, but then she remembers that this is the largest event of the Great Temple, which takes place once a year. Only on this day will the common people be able to see the saint in person. But in the novel, Evelina was not even present at this celebration. One of the priests told the saint that everything was about to start, and the other asked her to go, but the girl screamed that she would not go anywhere because she said that she felt bad, so let them go away. Now one of them turns to the saint, and the lady thinks what to answer her, after which everyone agrees. She also says that she doesn't really remember what he asked her for. The man then turns to the saint again, and a little angry, after which everyone whispers why she doesn't put him at the prayer meeting instead of the fallen high priestess Dalen. The main character understands that the high priestess does not get out of bed due to her advanced age, but it seems that now the high priests are fighting for her place. However, the lady still feels that this man should never be allowed to take her place. Therefore, the girl says that she is not yet completely sure, so he can already go, which surprises the priest. And then he screams out that the saint promised him. And does she really intend to do this? Because she was not satisfied with the men he hired, but he selected the men with the best faces and bodies and sent them to her. He knows that the ladies have had enough fun with them, but if 2 is not enough for her, he can send her as many as she wants. The girl remembers those men and understands that the lady received them through Kerus, and such a man is a priest. The girl says that she does not need any men, so let him not bring them to her anymore. The man immediately cries out to the saint that he will do everything to make her happy, but the girl tells him to leave right now. When he leaves, the main character sighs and understands that she will think about it later, because first of all, the most urgent thing is the prayer meeting. Evelina refused to help with the preparations for the prayer meeting, so it's probably a complete mess now. Besides, she was unconscious for a whole week, and everyone must have been happy that she only woke up because of the prayer meeting. Well, if it had been the original Evelina, everything would have failed. It was this prayer meeting that became the main reason why the girl's reputation fell to the very bottom. And now several priests come to the lady and also ask whether she called them. The girl replies that from now on she will actively participate in the preparation for the prayer meeting, so she suggests getting down to work. Evelina understands that she will definitely act in a way that is safe for herself. A little while later, the lady is already surrounded by documents, but she thinks how many there are. Other workers try on the outfit on the lady, and the girl realizes that the clothes are even bigger. One of the priests apologizes and claims that they do not understand that it is difficult for a lady to check everything thoroughly at once. But over all this time, a lot of work has accumulated. The main character just smiles and replies that yes, it understands that she is the one who is paying for this body. At the same moment, someone else turns to the saint and claims that if she is not against it, then the plan for the prayer meeting. He wonders if she could check it just once, and the girl realizes that they are shaking so much. After which, with a smile on his face, he agrees and also offers to lead her. A little while later, the main character heads down the corridor. One of the priests claims that first of all, she will have to go out to the central square, and the girl understands that now having gone out into the street, she is more realistic and realizes her status as a saint. The man tells the lady to first stand on the balcony, and when the girl does so, then beautiful views open up before her, and the lady thinks that it is so spacious and beautiful there. Just think that this place will be filled with people who have come to see the saint. But at that same moment, the lady sees someone below, and when she looks closer, she realizes that this person looks somehow familiar. At this point, the brunette just turns around and leaves, and the girl wonders what he's doing. One of the priests immediately cries out to the saint that this was in no way intentional, and that it was all because the distance was very large, and the commander probably just didn't see her. Evelina is shocked and wonders if this is Wrathban. The girl thinks that it means that that person was the commander of the knights, and he is completely different from what she saw in the memories and read in the novel. It must be because she feels guilty in front of him, but her heart is beating so hard, and the lady understands that it is probably because of fear. One of the priests cries out that it is impossible that he did not see the saint. And what kind of rudeness is this? But the other says that he should be careful with his words, because the commander is a devoted man. Evelina understands that anyone who saw it would understand that it was intentional. And the lady thinks that if he really grabs a knife and jumps in there, then what will she say to him? In that case, the girl thinks, why the hell did Evelina do that at all? This is felt even more strongly when you personally encounter his angry gaze, and if she does go, she will definitely be burned at the stake. Therefore, the lady understands that first she must successfully conduct the prayer meeting, unless, of course, he wants to fall into eternal sleep. A little while later, the lady goes to bed thinking how hard it all is. The girl understands that she has done so many things, and when she calms down a little, she thinks how much time has passed since then. How could she walk so freely on her own 2 feet, and with her original motive, she wouldn't have had the opportunity to feel so tired. Although she is tired, she is grateful for this, and the lady does not want to return to her original body again. She wants to move a little more and walk a little more. But when the girl approaches the door, she hears some sounds and understands that these are most likely priests. Well, she just wants to go for a walk alone and doesn't want everyone to follow her around day after day. After which the lady completely understands that there is a secret passage. Behind the painting is the central square. Behind the mirror is the garden behind the house. The passage behind the bookcase leads to a great temple, and the lady thinks that she should go there because there shouldn't be anyone there now. When the girl takes the mirror, she sees that there is no handle on the door, and most likely it opens with the help of divine power. Probably if she touches it with her hands. Like that, she won't be able to go through everything. When the main character does this, she begins to feel divine power and understands that it feels like magic. People understand that she used this power but have no idea how she did it or what its essence is. Thanks to the divine power, there is light there. But if you think about it, Evelina did not have divine power, and because of this, she was accused of being a liar, a saint, and was also plunged into eternal sleep. And then the main character thinks at what moment her power disappeared. The book said that the divine power gradually disappeared after Iris appeared, but the reason for this was not revealed. Then the main character thinks that the reason for the disappearance of the divine power may be directly related to Iris. At this time, the lady also sees the same door as before and understands that she has arrived. When she opens it, she finds herself in a garden and admires such views. The lady understands that there is a light breeze blowing there, which brings the refreshing scent of trees. In the garden, there are 2 shining moons and unusual fruits with flowers. Everything is exactly the same as in the book. It is an unfamiliar and beautiful world, but at the same moment the lady stumbles and slightly hurts her leg, thinking how much it hurts. The girl sits down on the bench and understands that it is time to go back because tomorrow she has a lot of things to do again. Well, at that very moment, the lady sees something on her leg and thinks that it looks like a specially made mark. The girl thinks why they put her there, but what's strange is that she doesn't remember it at all. The main character understands that she doesn't like it and why she has so many lost memories. And therefore something is wrong there, something that she doesn't know, and that wasn't written in the novel. But at that very moment, someone turns to the saint, and the main character wonders who this guy is. The young man replies that he came to serve her on the orders of the priest, Carus. The main character understands that it is him again. And the guy claims that he was not told about this in advance, but he heard from his predecessor that the lady often likes to spend time in the garden. In case he suddenly meets her, The top sneaked in there, but then she appeared, and maybe it was God's will, but the main character tells him to leave. And also told Carus to stop with this already. The guy immediately screams to the saint and claims that it is impossible. He put so much effort into getting there, the main character almost swears. And the guy at the same time claims that he has already heard about the story, that the lady often changes her mind, but let her give him at least one chance. He will definitely satisfy her, so he asks to give him a gift from the saint as well. Evelina screams for him to leave. Well, in response to this, the young man smiles and also says that that's how it is, and then the lady will like what he does. Let the saint resist more because he will never stop, but the main character understands that she does not want to. At this time, the guy says that apparently the lady really does like it rougher, and the girl understands that he is too strong. Evelina immediately screams that she really doesn't want to, and tells him to go away. At that moment, someone grabs the guy by his clothes and throws him away. Evelina looks at her savior with tears in her eyes, and she understands that it is Wrathban. The girl understands that a feeling of fear has settled inside her. After all, it can't be compared to what she felt when they met eyes back then. The brunette has strong shoulders, hard muscles, and large forearms, as well as huge hands. It seems that he can cut off her head with one blow, but the captain only turns away at this time, and the main character pays attention to her clothes, and also thinks whether he has already seen everything. At this time, the brunette says that it would be better if she didn't show it, and the main character thinks what this means, and whether he is telling her not to show herself like this in front of other people. But then she realizes that he most likely means that she should not show herself in front of his eyes. The girl wonders if this matters, since he already despises her. What she is sure of is that the captain will never forgive Evelina, but nevertheless, now the lady gets up and thanks him for his help. The brunette says that he is glad that the lady did not say that he interfered with her, but he thinks that everything would have been much easier if she had punished him with her divine power. After which, the brunette asks him to forgive her and grabs the man who was pestering the saint and carries him away. The girl looking after him understands that in the future, this man will plunge her into eternal sleep with the same hands with which he now saved her. A short time later, one of the knights greets the captain, and the other notices him throwing the unconscious man. The knight wonders if this is a stranger but still does not understand how he ended up in the temple. Another guy claims that everything is clear because you just have to look at his pretty face. Another knight then says that it means he is going to the saint. At this time, the commander suggests tying him up, and in the morning, when he comes to his senses, throwing him out of there. The guy wonders if they should just kick him out, and if they won't interrogate him. The commander asks for what purpose, and the guy at that very moment screams that if they draw up a report, they will be able to publicly announce it, and people should also know the truth about the atrocities of this woman. But the brunette immediately tells Sidel to watch his words. After all, when he joined the detachment of the Knights of the Temple, he took an oath of allegiance. The knight only gets angry about this, after which he turns around and claims that he understood the commander. His colleague doesn't even know what to say and turns to the captain, but he just tells the guy to take care of him. A little while later, the commander of the knights heads down the corridor and then enters his office. The man sighs and thinks what was going on because recently in the garden, the lady had such an expression on her face. So he wonders if the person who said these words and the person with such an expression on his face is really Saint Evelina, whom he knew. After which the guy sighs and realizes that it looks like new documents have arrived for approval. One of them says that this is a decree on security at a prayer meeting, and that it is necessary to choose someone responsible for the protection of Saint Evelina. The brunette is thinking about the saint, and the main character at this time is near a pile of papers, and he asks if it's true that all of this needs to be memorized. The priests answer that it's all correct, and the girl hopelessly answers that it's okay. A little while later, the girl reads that God looks down on the world from heaven, and that soon all people will be filled with suffering. Evelina realizes that she has already learned everything. Apparently, Evelina was not so lazy. The girl begins to have childhood memories. There, she sat with a book, after which she turned to someone and claimed that she remembered everything they had learned today. The lady also asked if God would be happy about this. Now the main character understands that at that time the girl was so diligent. At this time, someone else turns to the saint and claims that it is the priest Carus. He caused a disturbance and definitely wants to meet her, after which the man asks whether he should call the knights. The main character remembers this priest and also tells the guy to let him in and let everyone else go out. The lady understands that she can't avoid him all the time, and it's time to finally put an end to it. At this time, the man bursts into the room and cries out to the saint, asking how she could do this to him, and how she appointed another person responsible for the prayer meeting and not him. The girl answers that there is and understands that she has chosen the right person, who is another priest. Everyone hated him because he constantly gave advice to Evelina. Yes, the man at this time screams that all this time he was devoted only to her, but the girl once again turns to the priest, and she claims that she knows very well that until now he has made a lot of efforts for her. The man immediately shouts, "Why then did the saint do this to him?" However, the girl hits the table with her hand and tells him to take any prayer from this table. And he read the first line. The man immediately takes it and reads that God looks down on this world from heaven, and soon all people are filled with suffering. The main character takes this paper from him, and the man is surprised. The lady tells him to now say what is written next. The priest asks what she is talking about and how he can read what is written there if she took the paper. The girl claims that all these prayers are meant to be used in a prayer meeting. So how can she appoint a priest who does not know the prayers to lead the prayer meeting? The girl also claims that she can't pretend not to see his suffering. He won't be in charge of the meeting, but instead she will give him a reward that won't upset him. But the man immediately replies that he doesn't need her. And after that, everyone throws all the papers off the table, and also screams that the lady will greatly regret what she did today. The main character only remains silent in response to this. The lady understands that she thought that if she said so, he himself would back down, but this will not happen. Everything was mixed up, but when the girl picks up one of the papers, she realizes that it is a plan for a prayer meeting. The annual personal protection of the saint will be entrusted to Wrathban. Evelina realizes that it is a little scary that he will be next to her all day. Well, when the lady scrolls further, she is completely surprised. The girl reads that the commander of the knightly order is Wrathban. Excluded from the security at the prayer meeting, the deputy commander is responsible for the personal safety of the saint. The main character understands what is going on and thinks that she was so scared. It's natural why he doesn't want to be around Evelina. In the novel, when the girl was a saint, Wrathban, he did his duty until the very end. But now he hates the girl to such an extent, and the main character thinks that no matter how hard she tries, it is impossible to change the outcome. A little while later, one of the priests states that today is finally the beginning of the 2-day prayer meeting and asks if the saint slept well. The girl with bags under her eyes answers that yes, but in her mind she realizes that she didn't get enough sleep. The priest also realizes that a similar lady did not sleep a wink last night. The main character thinks that she couldn't fall asleep all night and wants to recover with the help of divine power, but she still doesn't know how to use it. And in any case, divine power is not applied to oneself. At this time, the priest asks if the lady is very nervous, because until now, she has been coping with everything for many years, so this year it will work out too. Besides, compared to previous years, she prepared much more. The main character understands that, frankly speaking, this is the first time for her. If she had initially had to gather all the people she had met in the years before she entered into eternal sleep, there would have been no more than 10 of them. Now she suddenly finds herself in front of tens of thousands of people. The girl thinks that a prayer meeting is an event that everyone wants to attend, at least once in their life. They say that it takes poor people from the outskirts several weeks to get there on foot, and when the saint finally says the words of blessing, then a fierce battle begins for a place next to the saint. And this is the world in which God really exists. And when demons appear, the divine power destroys them. And therefore people believe in the power of God and completely rely on it. So with this faith, people make such a huge journey just to see the saint closer, and she would like to console them at least a little. That is why people claim that she will definitely cope completely. And the priest then suggests starting preparations. While in the bath, the lady realizes that she has rehearsed everything dozens of times and is no longer a stranger in this world. So there is no need to be nervous anymore. And a little while later, the maids dress the girl. One of the priests looks at the lady and says that she is simply perfect, but at that very moment, someone else bursts into the room. While the priest announces that the prayer meeting is about to begin and that they need to hurry, the man who burst in screams for them to wait. He also apologizes, but claims that he urgently needs to tell the saint something. Another priest asks what happened, and his interlocutor replies that the matter is that Evelina immediately understands that this matter is connected with her and claims that everything is fine, so he can talk. The priest in charge of the preparation is a little surprised, and the one who ran in claims that false rumors about her are being spread among the people. This is what a lady does every night with different men, and they say that she squanders all her wealth, and he also neglects prayers and his duties, thereby attracting the wrath of God. When he finishes speaking, there is silence between them, and the main character thinks how this happened. The priest immediately screams out what he is saying. This can't be. But the main thing is that the heroine understands that he is wrong, because it is true. The girl also thinks why it had to happen today. The priest, at this time, addresses the saint, and he claims that they will cancel the last program of the prayer meeting, which is why you should be surprised. She claims that the last program is the most important moment of the saint's blessing. But the man replies that everything is correct, and the lady thinks that this cannot be done because everyone is looking forward to it. The priest, at this time, claims that since rumors spread very quickly, someone may appear among the crowd who wants to personally harm her. Besides, this year, Captain Wrathban won't be with the lady. The main character realizes that she tried to do everything right and really put in a lot of effort, but in the end, she will not be able to escape the predetermined ending. The priests at this time apologize to the saint, but the main character thinks that despite this, she will cope and claims that all programs will be carried out according to their plan. The lady goes out into the corridor and thinks that no matter what this ends with, even if it is just her mere attempts to do something, well, she'll handle everything. The priest at this time turns to the others and tells them to go quickly. But when the main character opens another door, she leads the captain of the knights there and asks why he is there. The man claims that he will accompany her. The man gets down on one knee and claims that he has come to do your duty. Evelina understands that Wrathban was originally the kind of person who did everything possible to fulfill his duties, after which the main character says that it's good and understands that no matter how much this guy hates her, he will now protect her. When the lady takes his hand, she realizes that it is big and warm, but then she sighs and then asks him to take care of her. A little while later, someone reports that the saint is coming to them. The main character comes out with the commander of the knights, and the priests claim that God's gaze has reached this land, and they all together receive his wonderful grace and also his great love. There is a place of the saint, and the main character, looking at the square, thinks that this is incredible because of the hopes and love of all these people. How could all this be an empty sound for Evelina? No matter how hard it was, she never showed herself as an adult. The lady understands that she must be quiet and always tries not to contradict the expectations of others because she didn't want to be hated, but Evelina considered all this unworthy of her attention. The main character thinks how this could happen because all these people were ready to love her so much, The girl understands that she was worried in vain, and everyone happily greets her. At this time, the priest turns to the saint and states that the last part of the program will soon begin, and now she needs to go to the stairs. When the knight commander extends his hand to her, the girl is first surprised and then thinks that everything is fine, even if he doesn't hold her all the time. Well, when the lady looks at the expressions on the faces of the other priests, she thinks that it looks like he is doing this because today could be dangerous. The commander is indeed a man who carries out his duty without reproach, and the lady thinks that she is so sorry. When the lady comes out to the square, people immediately cry out to her. The priest whispers to the saint that she cannot bless everyone, and you can just walk past them like she did last year, but the girl replies, no. At that very moment, someone cries out to the holy millet to bless her unfortunate child. Another one of them claims that it took him 2 months to get there, and the main character thinks that there are so many people with serious illnesses there. Divine power can heal wounds and poisonings, but diseases given by nature cannot be cured. They must know it themselves, and came there for consolation. And she too desperately wanted to hear at least one kind word. The lady addresses everyone present, but people immediately want to come closer to her, and the knights try their best to hold them back. At this time, the elderly man also turns to the saint and asks her for something. The main character, seeing this grandfather, immediately turns to him, but the priest says that it is dangerous for you to go there yourself now. Then the girl turns to the captain and asks if he can bring that man. The man turns around and agrees, and the main character thinks that something is wrong. At the same moment, someone throws an egg at her and screams that the girl is a dirty idiot. The commander of the knights turns around in shock and cries out to the saint. At this time, someone from the crowd claims that he knows that she is every night. She rolls around with men in a boorish manner, after which this man wants to throw another egg at her. But the commander of the knights immediately defends her and also tells her to capture this man. At this time, someone else asks if the rumors are true, because he also heard about it, that there are many men to whom the saint gave gifts. The girl understands that the atmosphere has changed in an instant, and even those who doubted it are now convinced of it. At this time, the knight's commander screams for the knights to come there quickly, but the main characters do not hear how they call her names and ask if they think she can hide for long behind the knights of the temple. The priest says that the saint should go back now, and the girl understands that she thought that everything was going well, but in the end, everything failed, just like in the novel. The girl also thinks what will happen now, and whether all her efforts ultimately have no meaning. Someone from the people cries out that the knights should also be on guard and let them go. The main character at this time comes forward and realizes that it doesn't matter what she does. Well, in the end, everything goes according to the plot of the novel, and in this case, the girl approaches the old man and also asks if he still wants to receive her blessing. The lady understands that she will do as she wants. The old man at this time raises his head and then takes off his hood. When he does this, all the people look at him with disgust. They say it's disgusting, and the smell from it is terrible. The main character raises her hands. The lady also says that even in the most difficult moments and in the happiest ones, God will always be by his side. At every moment when he only wishes, he will always be there, after which the lady kisses him on the forehead and also asks God to give strength to this old man. The man then thanks her, and the main character understands that his voice does not sound like an old man at all. The old man at this time takes the lady's hand and then kisses it, and also states that he will look forward to the day when they are convinced again. A little while later, someone in the garden claims that he knew it would be like this. Work hard, and he is sure that she is just pretending, considering her usual behavior. Another man claims that soon these rumors will spread across the continent, and also cries out whether there was such a disgrace in the history of the great temple, because the saint is openly called the girl of easy virtue of the great temple. The main character is sitting nearby at this time and hears all this. A little while later, one of the knights says that now he does not understand anything, and the other says that it is necessary to prepare for tomorrow's prayer meeting. At this point, the main character sighs heavily and realizes that she just went out to get some fresh air. The lady also asks if this can be explained at all, and why Evelina is a girl of easy virtue if she paid for a night with a man with money and jewelry. The main character lies down on a bench and thinks what to do now. Today she was really scared and also did not expect this from Wrathban. The man claimed that they had caught and locked up everyone who had caused disorder at the meeting. The main character answered that it was fine, but at that very moment the guy fell to his knees. Evelina asked in shock what he was doing, and the man bowed his head and claimed that he had failed to fulfill his duty, and he is ready to take responsibility. Evelina thinks about what he is talking about and understands that she is being played with right in front of his eyes. The main character answered that no, and it was her mistake that she asked him for an unnecessary request. The brunette says that whatever the reason, he is the one responsible for the harm that was done to her, and it is also his duty. Evelina was at a loss as to what to tell her. She claimed that she knew what he was talking about, and that for starters, the Knight Commander would carry out his duty without any changes until the end of tomorrow's prayer meeting. The man screamed that she was punishing him in this way. Well, the girl immediately interrupted him. The lady turned to the commander and also claimed that he could already go because this was an order. Now the girl is lying in the garden and wondering why the hell he wants to be punished so much. Evelina thinks that he is such a straightforward person, and she is also interested in who that old man was and for what purpose he disguised himself. The main character understands that he said that they would see each other again, but can strangers freely see a saint? It's quite suspicious, but she felt threatened by him. The lady also understands that she is getting sleepy, so she needs to go back to the room. Well, then the girl thinks that she will lie down a little longer, and a little while later she feels that she is so warm. The girl also thinks that she needs to go back to her room. A little while later, she jumps out of bed. Well, when he turns around, he sees that he is in his room, and the lady understands that she definitely fell asleep in the garden. At this time, a priest enters the room and asks if the saint has woken up. After this, Evelina screams and apologizes, and also claims that she overslept. The man replies that it is not worth it because she can take part in today's ceremony after lunch. He also asks if the lady slept well, and he is glad that she looks rested today. The girl replies that yes, and she slept well, and also thinks that she really does feel good. A little while later, she asks if anyone brought her into the room last night. "You are not yet at this time in shock," screams, "Did the lady really go out last night?" And the girl answers that no, and she also thinks that she just had a dream. That is, he immediately says with a smile on his face that it was just a dream, and the main character understands that he just had a look, like has she really started her adventures with men again? Evelina understands that if no one knows that she went out, then most likely she returned through a secret passage, but she is so tired that she cannot even remember how she got back to the room. The man at this time turns to the saint and asks if she should first check the offering before the ceremony, and immediately after the ceremony, she will have an audience with representatives of each country. The girl answers that it is good and thinks that it is divine power. This is the power to fight monsters. The closer a country is to the great temple, the safer it is from the monster. And in the most distant countries, the temple sends knights and high priests to protect people. Therefore, each country has a tradition of sending a thank you offering to the great temple. During the celebration of the prayer meeting, the main character thinks that she just needs to check the slander and then express her gratitude in return. At this time, the priest shows the lady where to go, and when the main character looks at all these gifts, she comes into shock. The girl understands that there are two types of offerings that each country sends. The first is grain products, wine fruits, medicinal herbs, and other necessities for the people gathered at the prayer meeting. And the second is dedicated only to the saint. So now the main character, looking at all this, is surprised, and he understands that she knew that modest gifts are given to express gratitude. Well, what is all this? And is this place a temple or a jewelry store? The girl understands that this is not for the sake of faith, but personally for the saint. A little while ago, Evelina threw one of the gifts and also screamed, "Who sent this trash as an offering?" The girl asked if they had any jewelry, and one of the priests addressed her as a saint. He also claimed that Laris is a poor country and that it is necessary to create such a tapestry. A lot of time and effort was spent, but the girl then asked if he was talking about the effort. The lady grabbed the candle, and the priest turned to the saint in shock, but the girl only threw the candle onto the cloth. After which, everyone laughed at him and cried out, "Does this have any significance?" She also asked if he said that the country was called Laris, and also insisted that he not send anyone else there. Now the main character sighs heavily. The priest at this time addresses the saint, and also shows the offering sent by Laris. The main character realizes that it looks incredibly expensive. After which, she remembers how the priest said that it was a poor country, and she responded that he should not send anyone there. The lady understands that they sent this with a request for help, after which she tells people that this is an offering. They returned it back. The man then turns to the saint in shock and claims that if she leaves Laris this time too, but the girl replies that she knows and let them send the knights of the temple to them. They can also increase the number of knights sent because last year must have been difficult for them. The priest, almost crying, turns to the saint and bows, and also claims that he understood her and therefore thanks her. The girl looks at more gifts and thinks where so many relationships were sent from again. The priest replies that it is from the empire of Aphelius, and the main character understands that the second main male character was from there. This empire is a country whose power has grown rapidly since the current emperor ascended to the throne several decades ago. She has conquered many countries in the repeated war and now has taken control of the entire area around the Great Temple. Due to religious beliefs, they cannot touch the temple and therefore consider it an eyesore. Instead of the aged current emperor, the empire is effectively headed by Crown Prince Leyon. The main character realizes that this is the second main male character of this novel. His father claimed that the influence of the Great Temple must necessarily pass into the hands of the empire, and the young man agreed. The girl understands that at the moment, the empire of the Great Temple is in a confrontational position. In the original story, Evelina was furious that the empire sent a huge amount to the people, but did not send anything to her. But now, the girl is wondering why the course of history changed. The empire sent more than just jewelry. There are also sculptures, paintings, and ceremonial items, which is all that a temple needs. The man at this time turns to the saint and points to something else, but the girl is deep in her thoughts, after which he turns to her again, and the lady comes to her senses. After which she claims that she thinks she can examine the rest herself. The priests immediately bow and leave, after which the main character inhales and realizes that she is completely confused. Evelina wonders if she missed something in the novel, but still doesn't understand why the girl only asked for jewelry. But then she realizes that she thinks she knows what the reason is. Evelina wasn't interested in such things at all, and she must have simply given them away as payment for a night spent with men. Now the girl is screaming that she doesn't know, and it seems as if this lady was doing everything on purpose to make people hate her, but she really wants to understand what was in her head. But be that as it may, now she will do everything in her power, and from the offerings she will send back all the jewelry, and also check all the official letters. But when the lady looks at them, she thinks that there are quite a lot of these letters. When the lady takes them in her hands, she understands that they are all so luxurious. But then her attention is drawn to one of the letters, which is not decorated in any way. The lady picks it up and wonders if there is really nothing written on the outside. However, when the girl opens the letter, she is shocked. It says there that since the deal has been concluded, he will soon arrive as a signalman, and the girl thinks what kind of deal this is. The lady says it's suspicious and then wonders if it's really for the saint. There's a strange manner of speech, and it's not known who the sender is. But at the same moment, the lady cuts herself to the letter and thinks how much it hurts. However, when the girl puts the letter on the table, it simply catches fire, or the main character thinks what is happening. Then the girl sees it all, that the letter disappears. Evelina understands that there is not even a trace left of the fire, and wonders if she imagined it. But then she looks at her finger and realizes that if she hadn't answered, she would have probably been left with a cut. In that case, it is most likely magic, and unlike divine power, magic is rejected in this world. This magic is so strong that it can tempt anyone, but it is this power that is the source of monsters. After which the main character thinks, who could use such dark power to send a letter to the great temple? The girl wonders if this is the king of wizards from the northern part of the continent, who is also the third main male character named Aslan. The girl thinks how strange it all is. In the original story, he only started acting after he met Iris, but Evelina doesn't understand why he started acting now and whether something went against the plot. A little while later, the priest again turns to the saint and asks questions. Were there any problems with the offerings, to which the girl replies that no, and that she left a note inside, so let him do everything as written. The lady also asks if the ceremony is going well, to which the man replies that yes, and everything is going according to plan, so she can go out in half an hour. At this time, the main character also notices Wrathban and says that he has changed his cloak. The girl also asks why the priest addresses the Light One with surprise. At this time, the main character remembers how a man protected her from a flying egg and asks if it was because of that incident. Evelina immediately apologizes to the commander and claims that she did not think that his cloak would become unusable. After this, the man simply tells her not to pay attention to it, and the girl understands that now she is even more worried. However, she says that the commander can rest assured because there will be no blessings today, so no one will throw eggs. Well, at that very moment, the atmosphere worsens, and the girl realizes that she was unable to calm him down. Svetlana seemed to point out his inability to protect her. At this time, the priest says that while the lady is waiting, he will bring her tea, and the girl agrees. A little while later, she drinks tea and says that it is so delicious, although of course she drinks it all the time. Evelina understands that in fact, it does not have any special taste, and she is confused, so she does not even know what to say. At this time, the priest says that as he thought this tea will be to her taste, since the lady chose it herself. The main character wonders if the girl really chose him herself, after which the priest says that it's time to get ready, and the girl agrees. Well, at that very moment, the lady becomes ill and she begins to fall. The sandstones, El Commander of the Night, immediately cry out worriedly to the saint. 2 days ago, when the commander was walking through the garden, he realized that he did not know how to relate to the saint. When he thinks about the work of the vice captain, he can't forgive her in any way, but as the commander of the knights, he has no other choice but to do his duty. The man thinks about the moment when everything went wrong. He wonders if it was before the vice captain was wounded or not. When a lady humiliated him for no particular reason, he can't remember exactly when. Well, if you think about it, when they were kids, they definitely got along well. At this time, the brunette thinks that he has reached the garden. But when his gaze falls on the bushes, the guy suddenly notices a lady lying on a bench. The man is shocked and wonders why she is there again. The guy realizes that it looks like the lady has fallen asleep, and it is unlikely that she would get involved with someone else again. Well, then the guy decided to turn around and understood that this was not his job description, so it was time to go back. At that moment, he turned around because he felt something grab him by the cloak and asked if the saint had woken up. The main character was still sleeping at this time, but already with his cloak in her hands. When the knight commanders were about to take the cloak from her, the girl only pulled it harder. After which, he, all with a smile on her face, claimed that he was very warm. At this time, the man heard someone else approaching. He knew there would be problems if they ran into someone while in that position. The guy turned to the saint and asked her to wake up, but the girl still did not wake up. At this time, the man who was approaching was telling another that he had probably dropped his thing somewhere in that direction, near the thickets. The brunette understood that they were going in this direction well when he was about to touch the saint. Then he remembered Article 1.3 of the Rules of the Knightly Order of the Temple. It stated that one cannot touch the body of a saint without her permission. But now the guy took her hand anyway. The man who comes up claims that he found his thing, and the other says that thank God. At this time, the brunette listens to what will happen next and thinks whether they will leave. But one of the priests claims that he is tired and suggests sitting down for a while. He also claims that there is a bench on one side, and the brunette understands that they will come there now. When the priest approaches her, he states that she and the other one agree to sit for a bit. When he raises his head, he claims that today is truly a beautiful night. At this time, the brunette heads off with the main character and remembers how he claimed that his Vestia was talking about a secret passage passed down from generation to generation only by the captain of the knights and the saint. However, the saint thinks that only she knows about this passage. The brunette understands that he should only use it if it is a real emergency, so now he is mentally apologizing to the former captain. The guy understands that unlike the saint, he has very little divine power. Therefore, he should not use it thoughtlessly. The brunette at this time enters the passage to the saint, and he realizes that he has also secretly made his way into the saint's room. He lays the girl on the bed, but when he looks at her, he sighs and thinks what he is doing now, and also what he was thinking about and how many rules he has already broken. The guy understands that he needs to return quickly, but then he looks at the lady again. The next morning, the brunette walks through the yard. He understands that the coat is all wrinkled, and he needs to change quickly. A little while later, the main character asked if he had really changed his coat. Well, the guy just answered that she shouldn't pay attention, and then the girl started drinking tea. The knight commander understood that he would no longer succumb to the influence of the saint and would simply keep his distance as before. But when the main character felt bad, and then everything started to fall, he was shocked. At this time, the main character thinks that it is very dark there and does not understand where she is. The lady sees the hands emaciated to the bone and understands that they do not belong to Evelina, after which the lady realizes that this is the real her and wonders how this happened. But when the main character turns around, she sees Evelina, which shocks her. At this time, the blonde turns to her and asks what the girl is doing. The main character immediately apologizes and claims that she is really sorry, and the lady may not believe her, but she does not intend to move into her body. Evelina only sighs in response to this and grabs the lady by the face and claims that it was she who brought her there. The main character is shocked and asks what she is talking about and if she really brought her there. But Evelina only gets angry in response to this and claims that she intended to choose the most stupid one. And the lady decided to make fun of her, and the girl screams why she lives such a worthless life. The main character asks, what does insignificant mean, since she works so hard? Her interlocutor cries out that this is precisely why, and asks why she is doing this useless work. After all, she tells the lady to live carefree by adding a little more fun to her life. The main character understands that this is incredible nonsense and wonders if this girl is really telling her to lead a dissolute lifestyle and live the same life that she lived herself. The main character immediately wonders why the lady says that. And is she really doing this on purpose? After all, everyone will hate her. Then the blonde at this time asks what happened to Togo, and he claims that it doesn't matter whether the lady likes something or not. This body is not the only one that is sacred, and no one will dare to stand in her way. The saint is an untouchable being, but the main character replies that this is not true, even if she is a saint. But then the lady realizes that Evelina does not yet know the end of this story, and this tragic end, in which her place will be taken away and she will be burned at the stake. At this time, the blonde asks, what if even she is a saint? The main character understands that she should not intentionally make the situation worse and claims that she is being slandered, despite the fact that she is a saint. At this point, the blonde wonders if she is really talking about what happened at that prayer meeting. Well, she still screams why the lady just let the Knight Commander go, because she should have plunged him into the eternal zone for the fact that he could not protect the saint. The brunette wonders why the lady hates him so much and what he did wrong. Evelina grabs the girl by the clothes and says that this is true because he did nothing and is not guilty of anything. After which, she completely lets go of the main character and claims that she made a mistake, and it would be better for her to find another soul instead, one who is free and true to her desires. The main character understands that this girl is definitely determined, and the body that she received for no reason, she can suddenly lose at any moment. So it looks like this is how it will all end. The blonde at this time tells the lady that it looks like she likes this body, and he wonders if she really doesn't want to fall into eternal sleep that much. The blonde then asks what the lady thinks. After all, she could give her this body again, but in return there is one condition. The main character asks what this condition is. After all, she will do anything as long as it doesn't involve putting someone into eternal sleep. But her interlocutor in response only smiles and claims that because it is still impossible to do in this body, because a saint cannot take people's lives, whether it be another person or herself, but she cannot do it on her own. The main character wonders if this girl really tried to put someone into eternal sleep herself. At this time, the blonde says that besides it wasn't knitting at all, and since it turned out this way, the girl should do something funny. This is what she wants, and first, let the lady spend the night with a man. Evelina claims that she gives a period of 1 week. The main character in shock asks what she is talking about, and her interlocutor just laughs, and he claims that if the girl doesn't meet the deadline, she will immediately throw her out. Evelina also says that the girl should remember that she is constantly watching her. At that moment, the main character comes to her senses, and the priest immediately turns to her and also claims that the saint has come to her senses. Evelina, in shock, asks what happened. One of the priests says that the saint still needs to remain in peace because she barely came to her senses after 3 days, so she needs to be more careful. The girl asks if it has really been 3 days, but the voice in her head says that there are only 4 days left, so she wishes her luck. The main character understands that this is Evelina's voice, but she also thinks that this girl gave her a week and does the time when she was unconscious also count. A little while later, the girl is already eating and realizes that when she eats in bed, she again feels like a patient after a long time. The main character also understands that she does not want to go back to that time and life that she enjoyed for the last few weeks. She really liked it because she could freely walk with her feet wherever she wanted. She was also grateful for the wonderful feeling of tiredness after a working day, and now she could lose all of that. Evelina thinks that she doesn't want to lose this at any cost, and remembers how the blonde told her to spend the night with a man. After which, the lady starts thinking about how she can do it. The Knight Commander at this time turns to the saint, and he claims that they still can't determine why the lady lost consciousness, after which everything changes. The man claims he doubted the tea she drank, but one of the priests claimed it was tea leaves. The saint gave her personally, and she was just worried about her. The guy says an investigation confirmed it was poison-free. However, during the investigation, they received additional information about the fact that one of them claimed that if you think about it a few days ago, the priest Karus had caused a scandal, and maybe it was he who harbored a grudge against the saint. When this priest was caught, the man screamed to be released and asked how he dared to put a high-ranking priest in prison. At this time, one of the people in the dungeon claimed that the priest Karus, and as I promised, came to save them. The brunette claimed that it seemed he was in league with those who had caused a stir at the prayer meeting, and that the man had screamed in the wrong way. Now the commander of the knights claims that they found out that the commotion at the prayer meeting was provoked by the priest Carus, and the main character says that this is how it is, after which she realizes that she knew it was Carus. The girl also asks how the prayer meeting went, and the priest replies that everything ended well, so she doesn't have to worry too much. However, some people do not believe that she suddenly lost consciousness. The girl recalls how she read in a book that Evelina did not participate in the prayer meeting under the pretext of illness. The main character thinks that everything is going according to the original story, and it is unfair that they consider this just an excuse. The girl also wonders if something really happened to the original Evelina that day, contrary to rumors. Well, then the main character realizes that she is thinking about the wrong thing and claims that she was supposed to meet the delegation. The priest then turns to the saint and claims that they all returned back too. Evelina asks if this is really so, since only 3 days have passed. The girl also thinks that the delegation also decided that the saint found an excuse because she did not want to meet with them, and now she has no business at all. However, the priest claims that there are still some people left, who asks for an official meeting with her and wonders if the lady would like to meet them. The girl asks who it is, after which the man answers that this is the empire of Aphelius. A little while ago the prince came to his majesty and asked if he had called him. The man turned to his beautiful son, after which he answered his father that yes. The man then told the boy to go into the temple and find out what was happening there, but the young man replied that he didn't want to. The emperor immediately asked why he didn't want to and why he had that expression on his face, and the guy replied that frankly he found it boring. The emperor said that he had no particular business these last days and had just finished conquering Astia, to which the young man replied that this was the case because his blood was still boiling and he would hardly be able to spy on the temple. Well, the man said that the guy knows that the relationship between the captain card and the spirit is close to disaster. To which he replied that yes, but asked if that was not why they had encouraged their informants. But the man replied that the saint's behavior had changed recently, and that was not all. After all, the captain's position had also become uncertain. The blonde insisted that it seemed they should try to motivate him themselves, after which he asked if the guy was now ready to go there, and he knew that if necessary, he could use any means, after which Leyon bowed to the emperor and claimed that he would carry out his order. The young man understands that the commander of the temple knights, Wrathban, is the strongest knight on the continent, and people say so, but he has never met him. However, the blonde thinks that if this is true, then he should belong to the empire, and not to some temple, and if he finally quarrels with the saint, then he will lure him to his side and he needs to hurry. A little while later, one of the servants cries out, "Did the prince really say that he would go with the delegation?" The guy replied that it was unofficial and that he should prepare fake IDs, but the servant asked what would happen to the ceremony if he went that way. Representatives of each country will come and start waving swords. The servant also cries out, asking not to make a mess in his room, but the prince only says how nice it is to have a competent and organized adjutant. Then the servant claims that this time the prince must meet the saint. And that's great. And isn't it time to take a little break from the young imperial ladies? And they say that the saint is very beautiful. The prince replies that he is not the kind of person who likes to admire only the face. He also understands that of course he has no aversion to beautiful women, and he likes interesting women more. The more dangerous the better. However, judging by the reports, this girl is just a hot-tempered and dissolute woman, so he is not interested in this. A little while later, the servant tells the master that he did say that he was not interested, and the man smearing makeup on himself claims that the situation has changed. A little while ago, the blonde screamed in shock. Is the commander really no longer guarding the saint? The servant replied that according to the informants, this is indeed the case, and he is also leaving soon, and hopes that the reception will end sooner, by at least a quarter of a day. This is the latest information. The prince wonders if the situation has worsened. But on the contrary, it's good because you need to hammer in 1 or 2 blades, and the matter will be over. After which the blonde asks if the saint really changes men every night. And how does he think she will like the blue-eyed blonde? To which the guy replies that yes, and at the same moment screams out what he is talking about. The gentleman said that he was not interested in this, but now he has changed his mind, and she should like him, because were there any women who didn't like him? The guy asked if it was true, and his servant screamed why the master suddenly started to disguise himself, or even made a stink. The blonde replied that before flirting with her, he should at least look at her once. A little while later, he was already dressed as an old man, and as he walked through the crowd, people smelled the smell, and one of them said not to touch this old man. However, when the ceremony began, the guy saw that the saint was walking with the commander of the knights. His Highness wondered if he was guarding her, and he was seeing this man for the first time, but he was sure that he was the same commander of the knights. The guy also notes that he even took the saint's hand, and wonders if this relationship is close to disaster. After which, he keeps wondering if they really slept together, and then he realizes that Wrathban is not one of those people. At this time, people turn to the saint, and the prince decides to act, after which he hits one of the men. He begins to fall, and the others scream for him, not to push the prince. At this time passes between the guards, and turns to the saint. But at that very moment, someone throws an egg at her, and calls her names. Then the commander protects the lady from the second egg. And the prince understands that things will get more difficult. And that's enough for today. Well, at that very moment he notices how the lady approaches him. After which, she asks if he still wants her blessing. The guy was surprised by this, and I thought, how could she approach a dirty and sick old man in such a situation? She is completely different from what was written about her in the report. That's why he is curious about her true form. A little while later, someone speaks to the representatives of the Ephelius Empire and claims that they have been waiting for this for a long time. After all, the saint has given her consent to an official reception. A little while later, they greet Saint Evelina. One of the priests at this time addresses the representatives of the Ephelius Empire, and he asks to maintain decency. But at that very moment, the blonde runs up to the lady, after which he takes her hand and kisses her. The main character thinks that this voice and looks a lot like the old man from the prayer meeting. The guy, at this time, he claims that his name is Leyon Havel Ephelius A. He is also the crown prince of the Ephelius Empire. The main character wonders if this is Crown Prince Leyon, and at first glance he seems stupid, but in reality he is a meticulous strategist and a fierce fanatic of war. The blonde at this time only sighs and asserts, what does he think that this time he really did the right thing by visiting the temple? And why didn't he come to visit her earlier? The main character at this time thinks that if she knew that the crown prince would be there, I wouldn't meet with him, because the empire only maintains politeness on the outside, but in reality, it is targeting the temple. The priests also look worried, and Lady Swallows then claims that she is worried, that she behaved disdainfully towards him, because she is always glad that she finally met the long-awaited dear man. The girl also thinks that he knows that it is impolite to appear so suddenly. The blonde at this time asks for forgiveness for not warning her in advance, and claims that he initially thought that it would be difficult for him to be there due to his heavy workload on imperial affairs. But to his great fortune, he finished his schedule early and was able to join the delegation in a hurry. The main character understands that this is a blatant lie, because how could that person appear mind at a prayer meeting? Even if there is no evidence for it, it is such an obvious lie. The blonde is thinking at this time that even if it is a lie, what is the lady going to do? The main character only sighs after this, and the guy says that he is very sorry, however. Evelina asks what he is talking about. The guy replies that the best artisans of the empire were sent to the temple as a donation, various decorations and precious stones, but the lady came out without wearing any of it, so it seems she didn't like them. The priest at this point screams, "What impudence is this?" The girl understands that he is being openly sarcastic, after which she clutches her dress. And he thinks that maybe he is deliberately provoking her. If it were the real Evelina, she would have already thrown something at the prince and screamed that she didn't care because it was a war. But now the lady understands that this will not happen and claims that even if it does, she plans to give it to him after the meeting. But since jewelry and precious stones are not the kind of relationship the temple can accept, she gives it all back to him, and the lady waves her hand after that, and the servants immediately bring in all the jewelry. The blonde turns around in shock and asks what she's talking about, and the main character says that he shouldn't worry about the wheat and grape wine that he sent to the people, since they were all gratefully accepted and put to good use. The blonde realizes at this point that he had indeed prepared in advance. This is not a fleeting persistence or a bluff. The main character at this point rises from her seat and claims that it looks like their conversation has come to an end. The guy then goes into shock and tells the saint that he hasn't finished yet, but at that very moment, the knight closes it and tells the saint that it is time to prepare for the next meeting. The main character agrees, and then says that as the Crown Prince Leyon can notice, she's running out of time, so she digresses here. You know, she also wishes him peace on his way back to the Empire and says goodbye. The guy looking at the lady understands that she is a beautiful and interesting woman, and then with a smile on his face, the saint says no, and that he intends to stay in the temple. The main character screams in shock, asking the prince what he is talking about, and his servant reacts in the same way. The blonde replies that during the time he worked for the Empire, he committed many sins, and there is no repentance or worship. These are not the most necessary things for a person like him. Therefore, he wants to stay in the temple for a while longer, and also wants to be imbued with the grace-filled saint to such an extent so that all his sins would be washed away. Evelina wonders what this means. The guy at this time once again turns to the saint. He also claims that next time he would be grateful if only the lady had given him a little more time. A little while later, the main character is walking along the corridor with the knight commander. The lady sighs, after which Wrathban addresses her. The main character heard this. She turns to him and thanks him for his help, and also realizes that in fact she no longer has anything on her schedule. The lady also thinks that she knew that he was bothered by the lies he told, because that is not typical of Wrathban. It must be how he fulfills his duty as the commander of the knights, and it would be bad if the meeting between the saint and the crown prince of the empire dragged on. The brunette at this time begins to talk about Crown Prince Leyon and claims that he has a feeling that he is not a very good person. The lady would be better off if she stayed away from him. The main character wonders if he talks about feelings, and she understands that she is confused. The lady wonders if the knight commander had such a character that he was ready to directly show his emotions. After which the lady smiles completely, and the brunette turns to the saint once again, and he bows and apologizes, claiming that he has gone to hell. The girl says no, and she is grateful for his concern for her. The lady also realizes that just such a normal conversation with Wrathban makes her a little happy. If this continues, then perhaps she will be able to change the ending on her own. Well, at that very moment, the words of the real Evelina flash through the lady's head about there being 4 days left. A little while later, the priests say that the saint has finally arrived, and the main character turns to the captain and also claims that he tried well, so she thinks that today she no longer needs security. The guy immediately bows and agrees, and the lady understands that, until then, if the conditions kicked out by Evelina are not met, then everything she did and all her suffering will come to an end. One of the priests says wholly that since she finished with all the things for today, then she immediately prepares a bath for her. But the main character replies that no, and asks to bring the accumulated work to her office. 2 priests are surprised by this, after which everyone bows to him and also claims that they do as the people order. The girl also remembers how Evelina screamed why she had to do this useless work. The main character understands that the girl previously resisted this, and Evelina hates it. That she does the work of a saint, but it is necessary in the conditions, so it is up to her to decide what to do and what not. A little while later, the lady leans against the table and realizes that there are only 4 days left. She won't be able to stand it if she doesn't do something. The girl once again recalls Evelina's words about her needing to sleep with a man, but she thinks how to do it and with whom. The main character also thinks why this girl makes her do it. After all, she has never even held hands with a man, and now she has to sleep with him. The lady understands that she doesn't want to, and Evelina can't force her to do something like that. After which, it all sighs and understands that it needs to work even harder in order not to think about anything. At this time, the lady's gaze falls on another paper, and she realizes that the official list of candidates for the position of high priest has arrived. When the girl takes it in her hands, she realizes that there are names there that she has never seen before. But at that very moment, the lady's whole body begins to tremble and break out in a cold sweat. The main character understands that it is not her, and this is Evelina's agitated state. So the lady thinks, who the hell is this Carl? It's a little different from what happened with Caruso, and it's something darker and more gloomy. The main character also looks at the mark on her leg and realizes that it is all somehow connected. A little while later, the lady opens her eyes, and a voice in her head tells her that there are only 2 days left. The main character understands that the voice Evelini, like a morning alarm clock, after which the girl gets up from the bed and sighs. At the same moment, the priest turns to the saint and asks if she is awake, yet he also claims that he heard that she went to bed late yesterday. The main character replies that she has slept enough and thanks for the concern. The girl also remembers what happened yesterday and begins to talk about what happened yesterday on the list of candidates for the post of high priest. She saw the name of the priest, Carl. The man at that moment had a smile on his face. He repeats this name and claims that he misses him because he has not been in their area for a long time. The main character understands that he is apparently quite good-natured. If you think about it, Evelina drove almost all the conscientious priests to the outskirts. Then the girl wonders if the priest Carl was also expelled. The man at this time wonders if the lady is considering the priest Carl as a candidate for the post of high priest. Although he is a little young, he definitely does not have any shortcomings. The girl wonders if he really became a respected high-ranking priest at such a young age. Her interlocutor at this time says that the saint also followed him. After this, the main character wonders if Evelina really didn't kick him out, and her interlocutor claims that in any case, it would have been good if she had asked him to return. Regardless of the fact that the priest Carl himself wanted to go there, but even if he does not lag behind as the high priest, he will be of great help to the great temple. The girl at this time answers that yes, but claims that she still feels tired. Therefore, I would like to rest a little more alone. The same priest cries out that it is good, and he apologizes, saying that he should have guessed about it first when the man leaves. Then the main character grabs her shaking hands and thinks what the hell happened to the priest Carl. But it is quite obvious that this is Evelina's fault. She probably became close to people like Caruso and heard something unpleasant about herself from the priest Carl. And then the lady told the girl to behave well because she was constantly watching her. The main character thinks why Evelina didn't say anything now, and maybe she was just pretending that she could see every moment. A little while later, one of the priests turns to the saint and says that perhaps it would be better for her to take a break today, since they were told that she was very tired. The girl suggests that they not worry because if she gets tired, she will die again. The lady also understands that in fact, on the contrary, she is glad that she has a lot of work, because thanks to this, her head is not filled with different thoughts. At the same moment, the main character notices that it is on the table, and when she takes it in her hands, then she notices that there is Ophelius's seal on the package, and the girl wonders if it was really sent by Crown Prince Leyon. Evelina also thinks that he couldn't have put anything strange there. But when she opens the package, then flower petals immediately fly around the office. The main character thinks how beautiful it is, but he understands that there are so many petals. And one of the priests asks if they should clean up, to which the lady replies, yes. The girl thinks that it is of course beautiful, but she doesn't understand why he sent it to her, and whether he really wanted her to suffer, choosing all of this. The lady also notices the letter, and when she holds it in her hands, she thinks what kind of nonsense he could have written in the letter. The guy there turned to the respected saint and asked if she knew what surprised him most when he first came to the big temple. They were priests, and this morning they told him that there is a joke in the empire. What do ladies hate most? The main character laughs at this time I hear from the movie. Then she understands that this is not possible. She also wonders if she just laughed at the crown prince's letter, but she had been told that his skill at charming people was amazing. And this was indeed true. And also, his experience with women is impressive. However, despite his numerous affairs with women, none of them carried his child. This means that he is a rather cautious person. And in this case, it is better to do it with him. But at the same moment, the girl shakes her head and thinks, what kind of thoughts are these with such a terrible person like him? It's impossible for anything to go according to her plan. The blonde asks disappointedly, a little while later, didn't the reply letter arrive? The servant claims that he has already asked about it 27 times, and the letter hasn't arrived. The blonde claims that it is impossible for her not to be interested in his letter. The servant at this time says that he tried to dissuade him, but not only for this reason. The blonde says that he thought so, and it is all because he is the crown prince of the empire, and also most likely revealed himself in vain. The servant immediately cries out, that of course, and asks if he even knows how complicated the situation has become because of his loud statement. At this point, Stupid says that there is no need to worry because he has a plan. But when the blonde wants to ask again if the reply letter has arrived yet, then someone bursts into the room through the window with a dagger in his hand. This man screams that the prince is an enemy of the state. The prince easily evades this and claims that he did not expect not to receive a letter. The boy immediately snatches the blade from the attacker's hands and stabs him, when the servant cries out to the prince in alarm. Then he throws the man on the floor and asks what he thinks, because it seems that this man did not come to give him a reply letter. The servant immediately falls to the floor and screams, apologizing for not being able to stop him in time. But the blonde replies that everything is fine because he said he had a plan. The guy takes the blade out of the criminal and claims that since the summer prince of the empire has quietly settled in one place, this is a chance that no one can miss, and it would be stupid if he said that anyone except the knights of the temple is forbidden to have daggers. The servant at this time swears that he will do everything possible. However, the blonde says that he will anyway. The servant asks him, in confusion, what he is talking about, and the guy replies that as he thought he needs to go for a walk, his interlocutor screams out, "Where is he going?" Because, as he already said, it is best for him to stay safe in the room. At this time, the guy claims that his expectations were not met, and now he cannot wait. The guy realizes that his heart is pounding with anticipation, and he thought that war and women are uncontrollable fun. While in the corridor, the guy understands that now it's time to get down to business more fully. The current influence of the Great Guard must pass into the hands of the Empire, and it would be easier to take everything by force. But then people will resist it vehemently, and instead, he will lower the status of the saint, which is the symbol of the great temple, and the commander of the knights, named Wrathban. He will lure to his side if the great temple loses its sword and shield, it will collapse. He was lucky that Evelina was an easily accessible woman with a lot of shortcomings. Because of this, even one small rumor could grow into a big scandal. So there will be a reaction soon, and no matter what it does, this place will definitely end up at the feet of the Empire. Or is there an easier way to do this? Like with his mother, a little while ago, the Emperor threw someone's head in front of her, Then the woman looked at this terrible picture with tears in her eyes, and then the man took out a document. He also claimed that it was a marriage proposal and a wedding gift. The lady then cursed him. The boy's mother's country, which held out until the very end, was eventually united with the empire through her marriage to his father. It would be nice if this method worked with the Great Temple, because the saint can get married. The guy understands that it seems that physical purity is not important at all for the saint. At the same moment, the guy notices something else in the window, and when he directs his gaze, there, he understands that this is the commander of the Knights Wrathban. He heard that this guy's faith and devotion are so deep that he is ready to easily sacrifice his life for the sake of the Great Temple and the saint. The moment he sees the true face of the saint, he will give up his status as the captain of the Knights of the Temple without a single regret. At the same moment, the blonde man comes down the stairs and turns to Commander Wrathban. And he also says that he is so glad that they met. And besides, he wanted to say, but when the brunette turns to him, the guy notices that his gaze is very hostile. A little while later, the main character wakes up, and Evelina's voice claims that the last day has come. The girl understands that this day is her last, and she will be doing her last routine and last work. When a lady looks out the window, she understands that her path is coming to an end, and tomorrow she will be gone. A little while later, someone approaches the saint and claims that every call has almost finished with all urgent matters, and can also finish for today. The girl asks if she has finished already, and then asks to let her work a little more. But the priest replies that no, because she might lose consciousness again, and the other one asks her to rest. A little while later, the lady is already on the bed and thinks that she still has time left, after which the girl gets up from the bed, but after a couple of seconds, sits back down. Evelina sighs heavily and realizes that she doesn't even have anywhere to go. The girl thinks about what it's like to fall into eternal sleep for the second time, and whether it hurts or whether she will simply disappear. Evelina understands that everything is ending, and she still knows nothing. Strange things are noted. Who is this priest, Carl, and why was Evelina like that? The girl couldn't stand a lot of work and was an annoying woman, and the main character thinks that if she tells her everything, including the fact that she will be burned alive and that no one will be on her side when she falls into eternal sleep, and also that everyone will be happy about her immersion into eternal sleep, the parents immediately begin to cry and understand that this is why she wanted to keep herself busy. The girl also wonders if she will really fall into eternal sleep, thinking about these terrible things, after which the lady thinks that she can't bear it anymore and immediately runs out of the room. The priests in shock ask the saint what happened and where she is going, but the girl in response screams for them not to follow her. When the priests want to object, the lady claims that she told them not to follow her. A little while later, Letty runs further and realizes that she is very scared. Suddenly, the girl stops and hears a voice that there is only 1 hour left. The lady understands that she wants to live, after which she cries out to Evelina and claims that she does not regret anything in her life. So he wonders if she can't just give it to her because she really wants to live. The lady repeats this in her thoughts with tears in her eyes and then remembers Evelina's condition. The girl understands that it doesn't matter who it is, but she must find someone right now. At that very moment, someone turns to the saint and asks what she is doing there. When the girl turns around, she sees the prince. The guy, at the same moment with a smile on his face, asks what she is doing there at such a time. The guy also looks at the lady and wonders if she was really crying, after which he offers to become her interlocutor for a short time. The blonde claims that he doesn't know what happened to her, but he would like to console her, and his room is just nearby, so if she doesn't mind. The guy also claims that he has no ulterior motives, so she shouldn't worry because he uses this room with his assistants. The main character thinks that if it is him, after which she grabs the guy by the hand, and he says that then he will accompany her. But the girl replies that no, which surprises him a little, and the main character immediately drags him along with her. The girl understands that the rooms on this side are used mainly as overnight accommodation for delegations, so now most of them are empty. At this time, the prince asks the saint where she is going, and the girl opens the door to one of the rooms and then drags the prince there. At this time, the knight commander is wondering what the situation is with the crown prince. One of them claims that, as he said, they have increased security near the prince's room. And the man says that this is good, so let them make sure that such an unpleasant situation as yesterday does not happen again. The guy understands that Leyon Havil Aphelius is a man whose true intentions are unknown. Everyone knows the fact that the empire is targeting the Great Temple, and in such a situation, he thinks that he can so brazenly sit in the Great Temple. So in front of her, he thinks what he is planning. Well, what irritates him more is that, well, at that very moment he stops himself on these thoughts, and he understands that if there is no direct harm to the saint, then he should not interfere. After which he turns to one of the knights and claims that if you think about it, isn't he responsible for protecting the saint today? To which the guy replies that she canceled today's evening schedule and also said that she would be resting alone in the room. Brennet wonders if she would really be alone. A little while later, he heads down the corridor and wonders why he even came to the saint's room. The commander of the knights understands that he needs to return, but at that very moment, two priests run up to him and shout that thank God he was nearby. The brunette immediately screams out what happened, and one of the priests reports that the saint went somewhere and they were supposed to follow her but couldn't. After all, the lady said not to follow her and also screamed just as terribly as before. So doesn't he know what will happen if they don't obey her? The commander of the knights wonders if they really said that she screams like before and claims that he understood, after which he asks to keep this matter a secret for now and he will find the saint. At this time, the main character closes the door behind her, after which she turns to the prince and invites him to sleep with her. After this, the blonde just remains silent and then asks what she is talking about. The main character turns away embarrassedly and asks if he wants to, because if so, then she will go. At this time, the guy grabs the lady by the hand and asks what she will do if he refuses. After all, she'll go out on the street again and look for someone else. The girl just turns around and asks what business it is of his, and the guy replies that he heard rumors but didn't think that she would be so brave. The lady says that if he agrees, the train will act faster, after which she grabs him by the clothes. The guy at this time only says that he did not even guess that she was so impatient, after which he approaches Evelina and kisses her. The main character understands that this is her first kiss. When she read about it in a book, it seemed to her like something more tender and deep. But now she has a feeling that he will eat her. When the guy pulls away, he claims that he heard that the lady is experienced in this, after which he apologizes completely, but claims that it seems she is not what they say about her. The girl replies that she knows this and asks him to act faster. The blonde realizes that she is shaking all over, as if it is her first time. After that, he lifts the girl up into his arms, and he carries her to the bed and says that she will not regret choosing him. When the lady lies down on the bed, the blonde begins to unbutton his shirt, after which he approaches. The saint lifts her legs a little and kisses her neck. The girl turns away, shyly, after which the guy approaches her again to kiss her. Evelina understands that this is a rather strange feeling. The brunette at this time runs along the corridor and remembers how the rumors worriedly claimed that the saint had gone somewhere. The commander of the knights remembers the saint and wonders why he is so worried about her. The main character at this time is in the middle of the process and wonders if Evelina is watching now. A little while later, the girl hears that the set signal has sounded and time is up. The main character realizes that she is still in this body and is still alive. At this time, the blonde turns to the saint and leans on her, and the girl understands that now everything is over and she needs to return. Well, when the lady gets up, she hears some kind of splash, and the blonde guy claims that it looks like everything leaked out. He hugs the lady and claims that everything is fine because he will fill her up again, and she doesn't plan to finish it just once. However, when Leyon turns the lady around for another kiss, then the girl pushes him away. The prince is confused and asks what happened. But the main character only thanks him and then claims that she is sincerely sorry. The girl starts to run away, and the guy screams what she means and asks to wait. The lady understands that she feels alive with her whole body and that this is still her body. Well then, the girl hears the prince scream and thinks why he is running after her, and she didn't think about this. The main character thinks what to do, after which she feels pain in her stomach. When she almost falls, someone grabs her. At that moment, the lady raises her gaze, and he understands that this is the commander of the knights, but the brunette notices the mark on her neck. And in what a state the lady is in, he begins to lose his mind. When he looks at the prince, he thinks, did this bastard dare to do something to the saint? After which, the brunette takes his sword out of its sheath and asks to allow him to deal with this man. The blonde understands that it is too late to retreat, but when he wants to reach for his dagger, then he realizes that he is in the room. The guy wonders if this is all a trap that they set up, but at that very moment the main character stands in front of the knight captain and asks him not to do this. The lady embarrassedly claims that this is a misunderstanding because she was just going to her room. At that moment, something flows down the lady's leg, and when they look at it, the girl becomes embarrassed and also says that let them go and also stop all this. The brunette immediately takes off his cloak and turns to the saint and also claims that he will take it. But when the guy is about to leave, he tells the prince that he will not leave this matter just like that. The blonde at this time returns to his room and realizes that it was not a trap, but he still thinks what happened. The saint definitely left him and ran away, and it's just like throwing a punch at a sailor. But the lady still protected him from the attack of the knight captain, after which the guy lies down on the bed. And he also understands that it was a tempting offer, and he accepted it. He also begins to remember the lady's face and her scent, as well as that feeling, because he's never felt like this before. The guy looks at the piece of fabric lying on the bed, after which she presses herself against him, and also understands that it seems that until he makes her this thirst will not go away. A little while later, the girl sits in the bathtub and sighs. People realize that this is a modest but neat and tidy bathroom, as is the character of her master. The girl realizes that she has come to Wrathban's home and is taking a bath, but she couldn't immediately go to her room in such a state, after which the lady remembers what recently happened, and also how the blonde asked if she was planning on finishing just once. The girl realizes that it is not as bad as she thought, although it was a little painful, and it is like muscle pain after a workout. The girl also thinks that everything went well, thanks to the prince's attentiveness to her. His touches were intense, but at the same time soft and gentle. The girl also wonders if he was angry because she used the man for her own benefit and ran away. But the lady still doesn't understand whether his pestering of him all this time was not for this purpose. And if he got what he wanted, then let him now return to the empire. And she is embarrassed to see him, so it would be good if he left faster. At this time, someone else knocks on the room. And when the girl answers, the man says that he will leave a change of clothes at the door. The main character thanks him, and when she opens the door, she sees clean clothes worn overnight and wonders whose they are. When the girl opens the door, the brunette immediately gets up from his seat. Evelina turns to the captain and thanks him for the clothes. The brunette then becomes a little embarrassed and also claims that he does not have clothes suitable for her. So he asks for forgiveness for giving her old clothes. The main character asks, what is he talking about? She is really grateful that he lent her clothes. The guy then turns around, and he claims that he will take the lady to her room. But the main character grabs him by the sleeve, after which he claims that it's already late, but maybe he should first have a cup of tea and then go. The knight commander asks what she is talking about, after which the lady apologizes and claims that it must be too late, after which he suggests going back, but the brunette immediately replies that no, and that he will make tea right away. When he leaves, the main character sits down on the sofa and thinks about what to say when he returns. She cleaned up the mess, but Wrathban really doesn't ask her about anything. The lady also understands that he probably doesn't want to know at all, but he always even silently remains on her side. And next to him, this atmosphere for some reason seems comfortable. Rena is brewing tea at this time. He squeezes the jug a little and sighs heavily. The guy understands that at that moment he could not bear it. The brunette wonders why the saint was with that idiot, and he thought that now she had changed. But is she really spending time with men again? However, he also understands that the lady definitely ran away then. And if this is so, then maybe this idiot forced her while we are eating at Boyle's. Then the guy tries to calm his rage. A little while later, he enters the saint's room with a cup of tea, but the girl is already asleep. The knight commander leans over to the lady and addresses her, but sees that she has already fallen asleep. After which, he sits down on the floor and sighs heavily. The main character at this time finds herself near the owner of the body. Evelina wonders if the lady really did it, but she thought that the girl wouldn't dare to do it. When the main character screams out, Eveline holds out her hand and notices that this hand is not from her past life. The girl realizes that it looks like she is now in Evelina's body, and the real owner of the body sighs at this time. She also asks if it is better this way and says what an indecent girl. If she can live with this, then spreading her legs for any man should not be a problem. The main character wonders if she is really talking about any man, and wonders why she is starting again, since she fulfilled her condition. As they agreed, this body now belongs to her. The woman then chuckles, and also says that it's good, and congratulates the lady. But when she passes by, she is already interested in what the girl is now going to do with this body. And also, is she going to do it full time, after she has experienced the taste of a man? She also asks the lady not to say that she will waste her time in vain. Well, the main thing is that the hero does not beat her hand off. After which he asks why she doesn't answer. She will try her best to behave like a saint. She tries hard, and isn't that why everyone likes her, unlike her? But because she worked as a saint instead of her. Then she is interested in one thing, namely, who is this Carl Evelina, who gets furious and screams. How did the lady find out about this name? The main character understands that she has found Evelina's weak spot. This girl has no idea how she found out about Carl, because she doesn't monitor every moment. And she thinks that if she uses it well, she can completely free herself from it. Now, the main character is interested in who this person is, because everyone says that she was carefully watching him. And the girl asks if this is a secret lover, but at that very moment her interlocutor grabs the lady by the neck and also claims that he will put her into eternal sleep when the main character starts coughing. Then the woman suddenly lets her go, and with a smile on her face, claims that she won't even have to get her hands dirty. She also asks if the girl received the letter, and the main character wonders if she is talking about the same one that burned immediately after reading it. The woman says that it will be more painful than falling into eternal sleep, because now she will have to bear the beast's offspring, and she is looking forward to seeing if the lady can smile next time. At the same moment, the main character wakes up and wonders what these sounds are. Evelina said that she would bear the beast's offspring, and when the main character looks around, she thinks what kind of place this is. She also feels an unfamiliar, but at the same time familiar smell, and understands what it is. This is most likely the bed of the knight commander, and the lady is wondering if she asked for tea and fell asleep. The girl thinks that this is problematic because she is already blossoming, and she has been absent for too long. The main character also wonders where Wrathban is and whether he is sleeping in another room. But now she should quietly leave. However, when the lady leaves the room, she sees the commander of the knights, who addresses her. Evelina wonders if he is still awake, and the guy asks if she is awake. The girl understands that he is completely exhausted and screams, asking the captain for forgiveness because of her he could not sleep. The guy rubs the bridge of his nose and then replies that it's not a problem. Then he looks at the lady, and he claims that he will accompany the saint to her room. Evelina realizes that he seems very tired. A little while later, the girl enters her room and realizes that she has returned safely. The girl also remembers how the brunette said that the priests guarding in front of the door were forbidden to go inside, so the lady should not worry about it. The main character thinks about the guy and wonders if he really cares about her. The girl thought that their relationship had finally gotten better, but so much had happened to them in such a short time, and in fact, he was probably ready to explode. The lady also understands that she needs to return his clothes quickly, and if others see her like this, then rumors will immediately start to spread that there is some kind of connection between them, and this should never happen. The clothes must be hidden well and then secretly returned. A little while later, one of the priests addresses the saint, and he asks if she slept well. The girl understands that this is a normal start to the day, and another priest claims that today a letter came from Laris. The girl understands that it seems that there really were no rumors about last night. So she was very lucky, and actually if you think about Evelyn in the past, it doesn't matter much because she will be kicked out, and if Iris appears, she cannot avoid being kicked out. First of all, she must avoid being burned at the stake, and in any case, she must prepare in advance so that she can live outside the great temple after the holy power disappears. But the girl also understands that she knows nothing about life outside the temple, and if she asks one of the priests what life is like outside the temple, and also about living expenses and the price of food, then he will be shocked and ask why the lady is asking such a thing. This will arouse suspicion, and the girl will understand that the secret passage behind the wardrobe leads outside the temple, so she needs to somehow find a chance and check everything in advance. No matter what they detain you in, you will immediately have to disguise yourself, and unfortunately, it looks like the money will have to be taken from the saint's jewelry. Evelina also thinks if it is safe, and it would be good if she could use holy power. At the same moment, someone else bursts into the office and apologizes for the suddenness, but tells the saint that this is an urgent summons. The main character tells her to give this summons to her. But at that very moment, the girl trips over the table and falls to the floor. Evelina immediately asks if everything is okay with her, and the priestess apologizes at the same moment. The main character immediately runs up to her, screams that there is no need for apologies, and also asks if she is hurt. The maid replies that everything is fine, but at the same moment, Evelina sees a drop of red liquid dripping onto the document. The main character clenches her fists and thinks that if only she could use holy power. At this time, the priest says that everything is fine with her, but the documents are dirty. The main character at this time approaches her and still thinks about the holy dream, or after which I consciously begin to use it. The priestess immediately cries out with gratitude and claims that this is a great honor. The main character, looking at her hand, understands that the holy power appeared by her will. Until Iris appears, she can use this body, and the girl thinks what a joy it is, because all this time, there were many dangerous moments, because she could not use the power. The priests at this time say that so much time has passed since they saw this power, and the girl understands that now it will be much easier to explore the boundaries of the great temple. Well, at that very moment, someone else turns to the saint and claims that it is Prince Leyon. Urgently asks for her audience. The main character thinks why he needs this, and is it really to find out about yesterday? The girl tells him to tell him that she cannot accept his audience now. But at that very moment, the girl hears the prince's voice, who claims that he said that he would not go anywhere until he met the saint. Evelina thinks why he is behaving this way, and the priests at this time will ask him to retreat because he cannot enter without permission. One of them turns to the saint and says that just in case she should leave this place. At this time, the girl wonders if Prince Leyon was such a character and whether he was angry because of yesterday. The lady also wonders if he is accidentally going to use this as an excuse to attack the great temple, after which the girl claims that she will meet him, but the priest asks her not to do this. Evelina understands that it was she who provoked Prince Leyon, so she must take responsibility for it. But when the girl opens the door, she sees a painfully familiar cloak. It turns out to be the commander of the knights, and the man tells the saint to stay behind him. The prince, at this time, claims that this is simply ridiculous. The saint herself came out, but her path was blocked. And is it really just the commander of the knights who has more power? One of the priests cries out that even if he is the crown prince, but Wrathban argues that it is the duty of the knight's commander to protect the saint from danger. And then the prince says that indeed his beauty is a little dangerous. At this time, Evelina thinks how shameless he is. After which, she realizes that the guy is trying to deliberately provoke Wrathban. If they continue to argue like this will cause a military conflict between the temple and the empire. So the girl understands that this cannot be allowed. The lady immediately screams for them to stop, and the brunette turns to the saint. The girl tells Commander Wrathban to step aside a bit and Crown Prince Leyon to come in. After all, they have something to talk about. The commander of the knights at this time turns to the saint in shock. The prince smirks, after which the main character tells them to leave them alone. After which the lady motions for him to come in. And when she crosses eyes with Wrathban, then he takes him away and understands that he will explain everything to him later, because now the priority is to stop the crown prince. When these two enter the room, the knight commander looks at this with fury and clenches his fists, but still does nothing. When the main character sits down opposite the prince, she thinks that he was originally aiming for the Great Temple. The guy may be planning to use last night as an excuse, but she's not going to let it go. However, the girl does not understand how she should start the conversation, and she cannot say that she is sorry that she ran away after one night. At that moment, the two of them begin to speak at the same time. The prince then invites the lady to speak first, and the girl claims that yesterday was her mistake, so she sincerely apologizes. Well, she knows that such one-night stands are not uncommon for the crown prince of the empire. Therefore, the lady states that she would be grateful if such a mistake does not happen again. However, at that very moment, the girl notices the cold gaze of the blonde, which makes her shudder. The prince claims that the lady seems to consider him an extremely frivolous person, and the main character doesn't even know what to say and also understands that this is a problem. On the contrary, she set him up even more. Evelina understands that it was wrong from the very beginning. No matter how urgent it was, she shouldn't have touched this man, because he was very dangerous. At this time, the blonde says that he will not ask about what happened yesterday and what her thoughts and goal were. Only if, like last night, she needs someone again, then she should definitely do it. Comes to visit him. The main character is also embarrassed and screams, and what is he saying? But the guy just takes the lady's hand in his and kisses it, claiming that he wants to know more about her. At this time, the brunette is outside, and people are talking among themselves and asking why this prince is attacking everyone. And what were they going to do? But his interlocutor suggests speaking more quietly. Another guy asks if this isn't the first time they've seen the commander like this. Others answer that this is true, and he looks very angry. But at the same moment, one of them asks what the commander could be angry about. And is this really what the saint does for a day or two? The other guy replies that yes, by the way. Well, at that very moment, the prince leaves the room and also turns to the commander of the knights and claims that he had to wait a long time. One of the knights at that moment shouts at the crown prince to stop being rude and be polite, but the brunette stops him. The prince only smirks after this, and passing by the commander of the knights, says that next time, if he has any wits, let him figure it all out and disappear. A little while later, the main character is sitting behind the papers again. The lady also recalls how the prince spoke about wanting to know more about her. And now the girl is thinking what this means, and suddenly he wants to date her. The main character immediately hits her head on the table and realizes that this is impossible. And the priests scream in shock, asking what happened to the saint. The girl replies that it's nothing, and thinks that she shouldn't be mistaken. The guy said that if she needs someone again, like last night, then she should definitely come to visit him. And the lady understands that he just wants Evelina's body. At the same moment, someone else enters the room, and the girl wonders what is going on. One of the priests says that High Priest Leyon seems to be about to go into eternal sleep. The girl understands that she was told that he spends a long time in bed because of old age. One of the priests at this time claims that he knows that the saint continues to avoid this man, but now he really has little time left. The girl asks if he is worried that she might regret it, and the guy replies that he is very sorry. Evelina thinks that the original owner of this body would have categorically refused, but now she says that she understands. But then the lady realizes that the high priests are different from the ordinary ones, and they can find out that she is not the real Evelina. But then the lady remembers how the priest said that now this man really does have little time left. The girl understands that seeing how worried the people around her are, she does not think that they have a hostile attitude towards her. So now she says that she will meet with him. A little while later, the lady walks down the corridor and wonders what kind of person this high priest Leyon is. She can't learn much from Evelina's memories. As the people move on, they notice knights. She understands that if she thinks about it, she hasn't seen Wrathban since that day, and is he really avoiding her on purpose? But she wants to explain everything. At the same moment, the lady turns to one of the knights, and he answers her at the same moment. The girl asks if he knows by any chance where Commander Wrathban is now, to which he is about to answer. But at the same moment, the knight standing next to him wonders what the ladies are going to do when they see him. The main character is a little surprised, and the guy's colleague immediately turns to him and screams, "Couldn't this idiot keep quiet?" But he wonders what he is and why the saint is personally looking for the captain of the knights. The guy standing next to him immediately pushes his colleague into the floor and shouts, "I apologize for being rude." But Sidel still looks at her furiously. The main character realizes that she has forgotten. After all, this is how people initially treated Evelina. If it weren't for the duty to protect the saint, then most likely Wrathban also treated her like that. When the girl turns around, she realizes that there are too many eyes there, and she can't just leave it like that, so she claims that it's for rudeness as a punishment. She orders the boy to be excluded from the ranks of knights for a period of 1 month, and since such behavior is not befitting a knight, during this period, it is forbidden to use the knight's uniform and sword. His colleague at the same moment cries out with gratitude for generosity. And the main character thinks that this is true, because why would she need to know where the knight's commanders are? In any case, there are things that cannot be explained properly. The girl also claims that they are late, so she suggests hurrying up. A little while later, Sidel's colleague punches Togo in the face and screams that the guy is an idiot, even though he knows that he hates the saint. But how could he say such a thing out loud? If he behaves like this, let him leave knighthood and not waste time. Fortunately, the saint has become more gentle lately. The man also asks his colleague why he is sitting and let him quickly return to the barracks and also stay there as if he was immersed in eternal sleep. On the way there, Sidel curses in his mind and wonders why no one notices this. After all, the captain who constantly looks unstable and the saint who constantly calls him out, this woman seduces the commander anyway, and the guy thinks what a dirty woman she is, because she absolutely will not let him go. At this time, the priest greets the saint, and one of them claims that he will take her to where the high priest is. When he sees off the saint, he thanks her for her visit, but claims that the high priest is now barely conscious. When the girl enters the room, she looks at the lying high priest and thinks that this is so familiar. The lady has felt it many times, and it is the smell of the body of a person close to the end. Evelina also claims that she will stay there for a while and asks everyone to leave the room. The priests then agree. Their main character is left alone with the high priest. The lady thinks about him and realizes that she doesn't know what kind of relationship Leyon had with Evelina. However, even now there are many memories of Evelina that she is not aware of. The girl understands that she must learn her secrets and begins to use the holy power that represents God. It can heal wounds, poisons infectious diseases, and can be used to defend against attacks. But they say that it is impossible to stop natural aging. and the immersion into eternal sleep. But still, the girl decides to try it once, and when she uses the holy power, she realizes that she doesn't know if it will work. However, she would like to talk to this person just a little bit. When the girl finishes using force, she realizes that nothing happens. But at that very moment, the woman begins to cough, and opening her eyes, asks if this is really a saint. The main character realizes that she has succeeded and immediately turns to the high priest, and she says that they haven't seen each other for a long time during this time. But the woman, after a bit of silence, says that she is not Saint Evelina and asks if that is true. The main character is shocked, wonders how she found out, and wonders what the lady is talking about. The woman says that the lady should have asked why she had not yet fallen into eternal sleep and remained alive. At this time, the girl begins to see warm memories of Evelina associated with the high priestess. And she wonders why Evelina treats the high priest this way, because in her childhood memories, it seemed that they got along well, so she wonders what happened between them. At this time, the woman asks if the lady could lift her up for a while, and the main character does so. After which the high priestess claims that she regrets that she occupied the position for so long and could not fully fulfill her duties. Now it really seems like time is running out, and the main character realizes that her hands continue to shake. Despite her efforts with holy power, she ended up only gaining a little time. At this time, the woman turns to the saint and claims that he should become the next chief priest, who can serve the saint well, and maybe she has already made up her mind. The main character understands that this woman is sincerely worried about Evelina, after which the girl claims that many people recommend the priest Carl, and the woman in shock asks if the saint has finally made peace with the priest Carl. The main character wonders if she is talking about a truce and understands that she needs to find out more. The girl begins to ask what happened to the priest Carl, but cannot finish her sentence. The lady realizes that her hands are shaking, and the woman at this time tells you that this is a good decision, because now she feels calm in her soul. The two of them will definitely restore their previous relationship, and she also hopes that the lady will return again to those beautiful and peaceful times. A little while later, the high priestess also falls into eternal sleep, and it is said that she fell into eternal sleep in less than an hour. After Evelina leaves, one of the priests says that the high priest closed his eyes with a peaceful face, so he thanks the saint. But at the same moment, someone else turns to the saint and claims that it is important to offend. Well, we need to quickly make a decision about the next high priest. The other man replies that he agrees. After all, isn't that why the lady called such a high-level meeting? The girl claims that as they know, there are many high-ranking priests serving in different parts of the continent, but not everyone has returned yet. One of them cries out that this is true, but you can't just sit there. At least the candidates need to be discussed. And the other one responds that he agrees. The girl understands that there are almost no sincere mourners, because most of the people who are sitting there were urged on by Karis Evelina. The lady says that it is good, and then let them tell which of the candidates they are thinking about. One of the men claims that he recommends Priest Aiden, but the other one screams that this cannot be. After all, this person has a very bad reputation. The man replies that these are just rumors and wonders if they really saw everything personally. One of them raises his hand and claims that it was before, but the other one screams that such confidential information. The main character just sighs at this time. At this time, another priest asks, "What about the priest Carl?" After which there is silence in the hall, and then one of the priests says that if it is him, then okay. The girl wonders if anyone is against it, and she is sure that there will be those who won't like it. After which the lady asks to send a letter to the priest, Carl, who serves on the outskirts, and to come to the great temple with the message. At this time, one of the priests walks down the corridor and wonders if there was such a place there. In the note, they wrote to him that they needed to meet in room 4 on the 3rd floor, and although he lives in a great temple, he knows little about this place. When the priest opens one of the doors, he apologizes to Crown Prince Leyon for being late. The guy says that there is no need to apologize, and that Priestess Lattice is probably busy with the funeral of the High Priestess. He is very grateful to her for finding time to meet with him, after which he invites her to sit down. The woman wonders if this is a tea set and understands that the prince is prepared. Well, she still doesn't understand why he called her. The woman looks at the prince and is a little embarrassed, and the guy claims that in fact he has wanted to meet her for a very long time. And wasn't it she who recently helped the wounded knights of his empire? He only wanted to meet her and repay her for her courage. The woman thinks that this is what is going on, and says that there is no need to believe that caring for the sick is the sacred duty of all their priests. And yet, the guy says that the fact that their knight, who was in great danger, was able to safely return to the empire is all thanks to the priestess Lattice. The woman thinks she heard rumors that the crown prince of the empire is very arrogant, but he seems very polite. The guy says that it is not something significant. He asks not to reject his sincerity. The priestess says that it really wasn't worth it, and thinks what it is. Well, when the servant opens the box, then the lady sees a stone in it and thinks that the prince is really making fun of her while the guy takes the stone. And turning it around, he claims that this stone was picked up by the knights whom the lady healed as a gift to them when they were returning from Astia. The woman wonders if this is really what she thinks, and the blonde insists that, as he already said, this is insignificant. But he will be very grateful if the lady accepts it. The woman understands that this is Astia's special product, that is the opal gemstone. She simply has no words, and at this size, it has great significance. So the woman thinks why he goes so far. The guy smiles at this time and turns to his sister-in-law Ladis and says that he would like her to become the high priest if she becomes always remembered about his gratitude. The woman at this time thinks about it and understands that the crown prince, or you could say the whole empire, supports her. A little while later, the guy takes off his tie. The servant turns to Mr. Leyon and claims that he trusts him no matter what he does. At this time, the guy wonders if he is talking about this again. But when he looks at the servant, his face changes. A person close to the prince claims that he undoubtedly expected this because it was a letter from His Majesty the Emperor. The guy understands that of course he expected that he would leave the great temple without even warning. So he says to return immediately. Well, the young man understands that he doesn't want to go back and wonders if he's really going crazy. When the blonde opens the letter, he sees an inscription asking whether he plans to get married. The prince understands that, as expected, the emperor is aware of everything, and his father's reported service is always amazing. The guy drinks some wine and thinks about Evelina. He also understands that he doesn't care about the others, because one of them will become the high priest. Using anything and anyone in his power, he must keep Evelina in his hands. A little while later, one of the priests states that in a few minutes they will escort the lady to the cremation ceremony, but for now let her rest. The girl sits down on the bed and realizes that she is tired. The lady also wonders if this is a high-level meeting, and she really wants to fire everyone like Karus. Evelina understands that the priest Karl will soon return. If he is appointed as the high priest and also left there, then since Evelina fears him, he may not appear again. However, something is bothering her, and the lady remembers how her hands shook at the mere mention of this man. The girl thinks what happened between them, but suddenly feels pain. The girl understands that suddenly it became very painful. Then she lifts her skirt and realizes that this has definitely happened before. The girl looks at the mark on her leg and realizes that pain is coming from it again. This is definitely not a natural wound, and before the pain would subside after a while, so she will endure it for a little while. The lady doesn't know what it is, and if it were someone else, she would immediately heal him with her holy power. The girl wonders why the saint can't heal herself, and then she sighs, and also understands that even having so much power now, it is useless. But at the same moment, the lady notices something strange. After all, this wound seems to suck in the holy power, but it doesn't look like healing. So the girl wonders what kind of bad feeling this is. A little while later, the girl is at a funeral, and someone claims that the high priest's face was the favorite child of God. The main character realizes that this is the last day of the funeral ritual of the high priestess Leyon. The priest at this time says that now they are sending her to God with prayers and flame, after which he asks to accept him and rest in peace. The main character understands that the high priestess Leyon is in a beautiful flame that gives peace to those immersed in eternal sleep. But then the main character remembers the events of the novel and understands that she should not forget about the last minutes of the liar saint. The girl thinks that this is true, and this cannot continue any longer because she must restore her relationship with Wrathban. Although they had not seen each other all this time, he probably came to the ritual, and when the lady turns around, then she finally sees him. But at that very moment, the brunette turns his attention to her, and the girl realizes that he is looking straight at her. But then, the guy turns away, and the main character wonders if he really looked away. The girl realizes that the situation is much worse than she thought. A little while later, she is sitting in her room. The lady understands that the knight commander obviously hates her, but she thinks what she should do. Evelina decides to first return his clothes, and when the opportunity arises, she will tell him about that day. If she goes through the secret passage, she can get there without meeting anyone. And since everyone there wears the same mourning clothes, even if someone sees her, they probably won't recognize her. A little while later, the girl goes outside and thinks that she is lucky. The residence of the Knight's commander was recently built with sponsorship support. But at that very moment, the girl hears some rustling and realizes that there is someone there. At this time, the priests heading there notice the lady, and the main character thinks what to do. However, they only bow, and the girl does the same in response, after which they pass by. Evelina understands that she got away with it, but she almost got into trouble. The girl also understands that no one would have thought that the saint would take it like that. There is only one, and especially her face is covered, so she needs to calm down. The lady moves on and thinks what will happen if the maker is caught sneaking into the house of the knight captain, because this can never be allowed. Then the girl realizes that she has arrived at the place, but at that very moment someone tells her to stop. It turns out to be Secr, and the guy tells this man to identify himself. The main character turns to the guy and thinks why he is there, after which the lady pushes him, but the guy grabs her cape and then takes it off. And he also says that this is Saint Evelina. He expected that it would be so, because simply seducing the captain was not enough. That's why she came there in the middle of the night. The main character wants to scream for an excuse. The guy asks if she even brought a change of clothes, and it's incredible. Stupid and depraved, she is a saint at the same time. The guy lifts the lady by the collar and asks if she really thought that she deceived everyone, but eats the essence. Secr begins to strangle the saint, and the girl realizes that she can't breathe. At that very moment, the lady tells him to let her go, and unconsciously begins to use holy power, which throws the guy back. The main character can finally catch her breath, after which she wonders if the protective barrier has just worked. However, when she looks at the young man she just threw back, she sees that his entire face is covered in red liquid and wonders if he has fallen into eternal sleep. The girl thinks about what to do and then asks if there is anyone there. At that moment, someone turns to the saint, and the main character realizes that it is Wrathban. A little while later, the main character is sitting with a cup of tea, and the brunette asks if she is okay. The girl then silently looks at her trembling hands. She swallows and becomes interested. What about Seidel, and whether he has gone into eternal sleep? Wrathban says for the lady not to worry, as he has a slight concussion. Thanks to the power of the saint, no one will fall into eternal sleep, and she knows this better than anyone. After which the brunette bows to everyone and asks for forgiveness. As soon as Secr wakes up, he will be punished accordingly and will be excluded from the knight's ranks. The main character understands that the knight of the temple is obliged to protect the saint since he attacked her. The girl interrupts her thoughts and says that she hopes he can handle this as quietly as possible so that no one else knows what he is agreeing to. The lady thinks that if only she had not come there, everything would have been fine. After which, she can't hold back her tears at all and apologizes to Captain Wrathban. The lady says that she was just going to come and go quietly, so she doesn't understand why this happened. Evelina apologizes again, and the knight's commander asks why she is crying. The guy wipes away the lady's tears and says that she is sorry that she ruined his clothes. The brunette tells the saint to stop apologizing because she can just throw her away. Well then, the guy also notices a choking mark on her neck and screams that the lady is hurt. He also wonders why she didn't use holy power before. But at that very moment, the guy understands what he said and immediately asks for forgiveness because it was his mistake as the captain of the knights, and he asks to punish him. The main character says no, and he must have been very angry with her all this time. The captain of the knights immediately asks what she is saying, and the main character understands what she just said. But for some reason, she has a feeling that she can now ask him honestly. The girl claims that he advised her to stay away from the crown prince, and since she didn't listen, isn't he angry with her? The brunette wonders what she is talking about, and how he can be angry at the light because he is simply angry at Prince Leyon. But at the same moment, the brunette thinks why he has hostility towards the prince. Evelina asks if he really said that he was angry with Prince Leyon. And the brunette replies that yes, he poses a danger to the saint and the great temple. The girl with a smile on her face says that's how it is, but all this time she thought that he was angry with her. The guy wants to scream that he was never angry with her, but he remembers what the lady did before, after which he wonders if he has never been angry. But still he wonders, since when did the saint change so much? The guy sighs and claims that this will never happen. The main character hears these words and feels relieved. After which he thanks the captain and says that since he personally promises now, it is impossible to go back on his word. At this time, the brunette screams out what she is talking about, since it would be unreasonable to refuse anyway. The lady with a smile on her face thinks that this is how it would end, even if she turns out to be a false saint. At this time, the guy is wondering when she will tell him about his punishment, in addition to the security mistakes during the prayer meeting. And today's incident was also his fault. The main character thinks that she completely forgot how persistent he is. After which, he begins to speak about the provision and asks if he is ready to accept it. The guy replies that he will accept any punishment. Then the main character says that because of the cases of inability to protect the saint, he will receive an appropriate punishment. And from now on, he will come to her 3 times a week to teach her how to wield a sword. The brunette asks what she's talking about, and the lady replies that of course she cannot become like a knight, but if she learns at least simple self-defense techniques, then wouldn't that be great? And the lady thinks that later when she leaves the temple, self-defense skills will come in handy, and under the pretext of training, she wants to get a little closer to Wrathban. The guy at this time agrees, after which the lady tells him to take care of her. The lady also understands that if they get closer, like this step by step, then he probably won't allow her to be burned at the stake, like in the original, and of course, later he will be on Iris's side. But she still hopes that he will not turn away from her completely, even when she becomes a saint to me, because it's normal if she is a little greedy. A little while later, the main character returns to her room and lies down on the bed. The girl realizes that it has been a long day and it is probably already 2 or 3 a.m. The lady covers herself and realizes that she is tired, but still today she feels a little closer to Wrathban. The lady takes her pajamas from the table next to the bed and puts them on, and also understands that she should have lived and slept. But a little while later, the lady wakes up from the sound of wind blowing from the street. When the girl looks towards the window, she sees someone else there and thinks what kind of person it is, and it's the 5th floor, so how did he get there? At this time, the man turns to Saint Evelina, and the main character thinks in shock, is this the king of magicians and also the 3rd male protagonist named Aslan? The main character wonders why he is there, and her interlocutor asks if she is really wondering about such a thing. After all, she received the letter that he sent, and the girl remembers what was written there about that. Now that the deal is done, he will soon be with her, and the lady tells him to wait, and also wonders what this deal means. The guy reaches out to the lady's leg. The girl is embarrassed by this. The guy with red hair claims that the deal was that the saint will become his female. The main character is shocked, thinking what he is talking about, and understands that this man is not a man at all. He is very dangerous, so you need to run now, and the lady pushes him away, but the guy grabs her leg. After which, he presses her to the bed and claims that the lady is his female, which he barely got. Now there is no reason to wait any longer, and from this moment on, he will fill her from the inside again and again, until the lady becomes pregnant with his child, and the main character remembers the words of the owner of the body. The girl screams that she will have to bear the beast's offspring, so he waits because she really doesn't know anything about it. But the guy replies that she can't refuse, because she gave him a promise, and she prepared her body so that she could accept him. And the lady drank tea, which is a medicine, and it helps to resist his magical power. He also asks if the lady sees, because he smells the readiness, and the deal was made because she agreed. Now, even if she makes a face as if she doesn't know anything, it won't work. The guy also apologizes, but claims that he can't wait any longer, and his patience is running out. The main character also hears the voice of Evelina, who claims that she wanted this body, and if so, then she must accept everything and life with this body, as well as the deal made by it. The main character understands that this is Evelina's voice, but she wonders where it comes from. Aslan, at this time, kisses the lady, and then continues the process. Evelina, at this time in her thoughts, asks him to stop because it hurts and is hard for her. And also, this all seems too strange, and if this continues, she simply won't be able to stand it. The guy with red hair claims that it exceeded his expectations, and indeed it did. His female will give birth to his child. But the main character pushes him away, after which he wonders if that's all. However, when he strokes the lady's belly, he claims that it may not work the first time, after which he suggests doing it again, but the main character screams for him to stop. Aslan asks if she hasn't listened because it hasn't happened yet, and when a child appears, it can be felt, so he says that nothing has happened yet. So, how can she stop? Because the deal said that they would do this as many times as needed. Well, at that very moment, the main character closes her eyes, and the guy is surprised. Then he says that it is not necessary for her to be conscious. However, when he looks at the lady, then he lies down next to her and thinks why it is so hard for her. Maybe she didn't drink enough of that tea. The guy also understands that he can't, and people are too weak. He also thinks about one condition of the deal. It was that he would get rid of the marks on his thigh. It is a very old curse that devours the strength of its owner. In the great temple, where the holy powers are concentrated, it is very strange to see something like this on the body of the saint herself. But the guy understands that he can get rid of such things with one move. When he starts using his power, the curse gradually tightens, but at that moment the main character screams. Aslan is surprised and immediately stops. He cries out, "Can't she even stand this?" The guy also understands that there is still a little left, and this problem is now the curse is taking away her holy power. But soon, her life will become the target, and in the end, it will all end with the owner being plunged into eternal sleep. This is a terrible curse, so the king of magicians claims that he will somehow solve it. After all, the girl is his female. The next morning, the knight commander is at the training ground. Someone approaches the captain and claims that Sidel is missing and that he appears to have been absent the night before. This guy screams that they will find him immediately and bring him, but the captain replies that it is not necessary, after which he claims that Sidel has lost his knightly status and they will never see him again. The guy is shocked and asks what he is talking about, and the brunette insists that they should not mention his name from now on. When he leaves, one of the knights claims that he knew that this guy would one day cause big problems, but what could he do to lose his status? Another knight shouts at them to be quiet and train like everyone else. The captain spoke so calmly, but his soul must be heavy and they should not create any problems. Well, when the guy sees the faces of his colleagues, he asks what's wrong with them and turns around to ask what happened. However, when he sees the commander's face, he himself comes to the guy and wonders if he's really smiling. At this time, the brunette remembers the saint who said that the first meeting would take place tomorrow afternoon in her room. The guy understands that it's still morning and time is moving so slowly, so he should go a little earlier. When a brunette approaches a lady, he thinks about what to teach her first. Considering that she doesn't have basic physical strength, we should start with self-defense techniques, but she's a saint. With her power, she can prevent all dangers. So he wonders why she asked him about this, and also why she didn't immediately stop Sidel's attack. Maybe there is another reason that she did not tell him about. But at that very moment, the brunette understands that he needs to get rid of such thoughts, because all he can do is faithfully follow her orders. But at that same moment, the guy notices someone else and realizes that it is the crown prince. Leyon asks who they have there, and the brunette asks what he is doing there. Wrathban wonders why that idiot is there again. He also remembers the face of the main character and what state she was in, after which he thinks why he is hanging around the saint. At this time, the blonde asks what this could be since he came to see the saint, after which he wonders what the knight commander is doing there. The brunette calls this guy names in his thoughts, and his interlocutor at this time says that when a person asks, you need to answer. At that moment, one of the priests turns to the two and states that they are in front of the saint's residence, and therefore they cannot make noise there. The brunette immediately apologizes and understands that there is no need to talk to this person, but he almost lost his composure. The guy also asks to convey to the saint his words that he has come to fulfill the promise he made to her. The blonde asks if this is really so, after which the priest asks them to wait a little. One of them says that he is sorry, but they cannot get an audience with the saint now. These two at the same moment wonder why, and the brunette wonders what happened to her, and the blonde asks if she is sick. At that moment they exchange furious glances, and the priest insists that this is not the issue, only he thinks that they will have to wait a little. The commander of the knights at this time looks at the door to the saint and thinks why he realized this only now. There is definitely something in her room, the evil and powerful energy of the demon beast. At the same moment, the commander of the knights knocks on the room and shouts to the saint that it is him, and also asks if everything is okay with her. Well, when the girl doesn't answer, the guy can't take it anymore and kicks down the door. A little while ago, the main character opened her eyes, and at that very moment, Aslan addressed her. The guy claimed that she finally came to her senses, but she just started crying. Aslan asked what had happened, and the lady claimed that she actually didn't remember anything. He also wonders what kind of deal she made, after which the guy only swears and thinks about what he should do. The demon king begins to use magic and claims that things are bad. When she says after everything that she doesn't remember anything, the main character in the form of art thinks whether this is spatial magic. It's obvious that this is high-level magic, and he can control such powers so easily. At this time, the guy claims that he found it, and when he hands the bundle of paper to the main character, she asks what it is. The guy replies that these are the letters she has been sending him all this time. When the girl reads them, she sees that it says that giving birth to his child is an extremely dangerous thing for her, so he must fulfill any of her requests. Evelina understands that this is definitely the handwriting of the owner of this body, and judging by the neatness of the handwriting and the style of writing, she was definitely of sound mind. Well, the main character also thinks about what she was thinking about. In the end, the lady is interested in what exactly the deal was, and is it really only that? The guy then holds out a stone tablet and claims that there is another imprint of the deal. When the girl looks at her, she understands that she has never felt such heavy energy as this, and this is neither a holy force nor a magical one. The lady understands that this is an object from another world, and later, Iris will also acquire several similar artifacts. Well, the main character claims that she can't read these signs, and the guy claims that he will translate it for her. Apart from the signature, all other letters are automatically converted into the language of the world in which the stone tablet was created. It says there that she is a saint of the great temple, named Evelina. She swears to become Aslan's female and bear him an heir. Evelina understands that this is a demon beast and asks if he is lying about this, taking advantage of her inability to read. The guy replies that she really doesn't remember anything, and the girl asks if there are any other conditions. Aslan says that according to the deal, after she becomes his female, he cannot lie to her. The lady says that she understands, and then asks what she wants from him in return. The guy replies that she only wanted 3 things from him, and he could do more. After which, he lifts the lady's leg with the mark and claims that this is the first of them. But at that very moment, someone turns to the saint and claims that Captain Wrathban has arrived on the business he promised her. The girl is surprised by this and then realizes that she should have self-defense lessons. The girl immediately pushes Aslan away and screams for them to wait a little. The lady understands that this can't happen anymore and grabs her clothes, after which she is going to take the blanket. But it can't be because Aslan is sitting on it. And the guy then asks furiously, "What just happened?" The main character understands that she needs to get rid of him first, after which she asks him to get out of bed, but he does not agree, and the girl asks him to go back. Aslan only gets angrier and claims that he doesn't want to, after which he wonders why he should do this. After all, she is now his female. The girl at this time comes into shock and thinks that she should not because she hears approaching voices. The lady immediately screams, asking him to calm down, but the guy replies that he doesn't want to. Evelina understands that if he were an ordinary person, she would pretend that he had returned to his old habits. However, she cannot be allowed to be caught with this man. The lady then remembers how he called her his female, after which Aslana hugs him and, addressing him by name, claims that she is a saint. She also doesn't want to show herself to people in the great temple in an inappropriate manner, so she hopes that he will understand her situation. The lady also calls him her male, and at the same moment, Aslan hugs her and bites her neck. Then he gets dressed and says that it's good, because then he'll be back soon. At the same moment as he disappears, the commander of the knights and the prince, standing behind him, burst into the room. These two immediately turn to the saint, and the main character thinks what to tell her. The lady immediately claims that she went to bed late and therefore needed to wake up. However, these two are still standing in a stupor. The girl understands that this is an unconvincing excuse and that she is finished, but at the same moment, the prince asked to forgive him for his bad manners that arose while she was resting. He also heard that the lady had some kind of promise with Captain Wrathban, after which he asks if this is true. The girl replies that yes, and the blonde says that in that case, he thinks it would be right if he left. The lady understands that he must be disappointed in her and could just leave, so she does not understand why he says such useless words. But the blonde says that in return, she should promise that next time it will be convenient for her. They will be able to talk again, and he also wants her to make a promise. The main character wonders if he is not disappointed in her, after which the guy thanks her, and he says that he will wait for news from her. After he leaves, the brunette turns to the saint and asks if everything is okay with her body. The girl immediately covers up the traces of last night and replies that of course, the lady wonders if Wrathban has decided to dig into this too. At this time, the brunette pays attention to the state of the bed, and the lady understands that anyone who looks will immediately become suspicious. But the commander of the knights says that if everything is okay, then good, and then suggests starting self-defense lessons. When the lady is ready, let her come out into the living room, to which she agrees and understands that this is true, because the commander of the knights never asks about anything. However, when the brunette leaves the room, he clenches his teeth. A little while later, the main character dresses in uniform The lady realizes that she asked Wrathban for self-defense lessons in order to get closer to him, but it almost ended just now. So the girl understands that she will try and earn his favor again. The guy sees how hard she tries and will praise her. And perhaps he will even scream that he has no words, because he cannot believe that there is such a genius of swordsmanship as a saint. The lady understands that she may have a hidden talent and everything is possible. But a little while later, the brunette turns to the saint and claims that he has prepared a training wooden ball for her. The girl asks if this is a fake ball, and the guy replies that it would be too much for one time. And the lady says that it is natural, but understands that she imagined all sorts of things, and now she feels somehow ashamed. Evelina then suggests starting the lessons, and the guy says that in that case, wouldn't she like to take it in her hands once? The main character realizes that it is Wrathban's sword. Well, when the guy lets go of it, then the girl's hands drop together with the sword, because it is quite heavy. The brunette at this time helps people to lift the ball and apologizes for, also claims that he did not know that it would be so hard for her. The main character understands that it is incredibly heavy, and claims that if the sword is not so heavy, it will be difficult to cope with magical opponents. Brunette claims that when exposed to animal bones or other minerals, it becomes much lighter, and if this happens, the power of the sword will weaken. Then you can use a fast attack, so the most important thing is to find the ball that suits you. The main character realizes that this is the first time she has seen Wrathban speak for so long, and for some reason she also becomes excited. The girl claims that not all swords are the same as the captain of the knights, replies that everyone chooses a ball that suits them and tames it, so each ball is special. This is why knights value their swords as much as their lives, and the main character realizes that she just almost dropped Wrathban's sword. That's why the girl immediately asks for forgiveness, because she almost dropped such a valuable sword. However, what a blessing that he caught it safely. And the lady asks if it is so. The brunette at this time thinks whether he really gave his sword to someone else, and it seemed that the wooden sword disappointed her, so he unknowingly gave her his own. A little while later, the main character is already standing with a sword in her hands, and Bruna tells her to hold her hands a little tighter and not straighten her elbows too much. Let the lady apply force to the little finger too, and the girl understands that she has no words. These are just basic movements, so she doesn't understand why she can do it, and whether she's not a genius, and whether she has no talent. The knight commander at this time asks if he can show the correct position or not, and he immediately answers yes. At the same moment, the guy brings her closer to him, and when he puts his hand on her waist, the girl becomes a little embarrassed, but she understands that they are in class, so she must concentrate. The brunette at this time tells the lady to straighten her back a little and put her right hand as he shows. A little while later, he puts the lady in the perfect position and tells her to remember it. But the girl notices the scar on his arm and wonders if it hasn't received proper treatment. The guy replies that they can't waste the priest's holy power on such trivial wounds, and that it would be better for the lady to try swinging a sword. The girl does so, after which she rejoices and claims that he is much more stable than before. The guy says that this is true, and this is the first time for a lady, and he is also very worthy. The girl realizes that she can do it too, and says that it's all thanks to Captain Wrathban. The lady also asks if he can give her hand for a minute, after which she begins to heal his hand, and also claims that this is payment for a good lesson. The brunette then thanks the lady for her generous holy power. The main character replies that she feels secure because she has a good teacher and wants to try hard and quickly improve her skills. The brunette then claims that even if the saint learns to wield a sword, it will take a lot of time to learn how to inflict significant damage on the enemy. However, the saint has the dagger of the demonic beast, Kales. The girl remembers this dagger and realizes that it is the only dagger on the continent, made from the bones of the demonic beast, Kales. It has special skills, and the blow received by the owner of the dagger is returned to the enemy in the same form. This dagger was passed down from generation to generation of saints. Well, luckily she remembers it. Or Eddie says that he means Kaelus's dagger. Brilliant says that there is no need to study long balls with difficulty, because the Kaelessa dagger is better suited for self-defense. And if the lady learns the method of possession without causing harm to herself, she will be able to use it soon. The main character replies that she is already looking forward to learning, but then she thinks where he is, after which he completely realizes that he doesn't remember, and the commander of the knights says that the lady should bring this dagger next time. At this time the girl realizes that she has a problem, because at this time this dagger is not with her. A little while later, the girl walks in circles and thinks about this dagger. Unlike other treasures guarded in the great temple, it is so important that the saints kept it with them. But the girl, after another night, she threw this dagger to one of her lovers. The man, after this bewilderment, turned to the saint and asked if she was really giving him this dagger, after which he asked if she could give him something else. But when he saw the girl's angry gaze, he claimed that he didn't understand anything. But then the guy saw the precious stone, and recognizing it, cried out that he had heard that this dagger was special, and it could not be that the saint gave him an antique dagger. The woman said that if he didn't like it, he should just throw it away, but he replied that he didn't, and that it was on Arbol Street. Even old daggers could fetch a certain price, so he thanked the lady. The main character thinks how crazy this woman is, and also what she should do when she gave away the temple treasure like that, throwing around precious stones and gold coins. The lady also thinks about how she should tell the commander that the dagger was there and has now disappeared, and also understands that this is not what to do. Well, the girl understands that she saw Arbel Street in the original story. It is a small street away from the great temple, the dark side of the city where stolen and contraband goods are traded. The main character now sighs and wonders if the dagger is still in that place. But all that remains is to go and see for yourself, after which the lady approaches one of the passages and understands that she will be able to reach the side gates leading out into the surrounding area. The girl wanted to start using her power, but at that very moment someone turned to the saint, and he wondered if she would start doing her afternoon chores. People understand that she must take action before the next lesson. A little while later, the girl sits gloomily at her desk and realizes that careful preparation is needed. First of all, you need to make sure that there are no problems when she leaves the room for a while. But first, some matters must be settled. A short time later, one of the priests brings himself to the list of candidates for the high priesthood who have arrived at the great temple up to this day. The main character, looking at these lists, thinks why Carl hasn't arrived yet, and won't he be late? The lady also says that they should find out the current location of the priest, and asks that a meeting to select candidates be scheduled for the time when everyone arrives, after which the lady also remembers the crown prince, and understands that it will be difficult if he suddenly comes while she is away, so it is necessary to decide on the date in advance. He turns to one of the priests and tells him to prepare a letter to send to the crown prince. Well, then the priest replies that the crown prince is not in the great temple at the moment. However, he heard that he left in a hurry, and the main characters wonder if he is suddenly returning back to the empire. Well, then the main character understands that perhaps he could change his mind, and she shouldn't worry about it. The girl understands that he seemed to be planning to stay here forever. A little while later, the priests say that the saint has worked well today, and the main character also thanks them for their work. Evelina claims that tomorrow she plans to pray to God alone in her room, because it will be difficult if the prayer is interrupted in the middle, and she asks that no one enter her room, to which you agree. The next day, the girl is already getting ready to go and understands that she can go look for the dagger. A little while later, the lady comes to one of the doors and, opening it, sees a lot of people. The girl understands that there are a lot of people there, and fortunately, no one pays attention to her. As soon as she goes through that door, she will find herself outside the great temple, and therefore she needs to go quickly. Well then, the lady should think about whether she should go back after she gets out, because that way she won't have to worry about being burned at the stake anymore, and she will be free. But at that very moment the lady hears someone scream and tells that person to wait. People immediately start whispering that these are the knights of the temple, and one of them is Commander Wrathban. The man starts to approach the lady, and she thinks what to do and what excuse to come up with. At that moment, the commander of the knights grabs this man by the hand and tells him to give this thing to him. The main character understands that he was not following her, but the man asks the knight why he is doing this, because it is his book. When the guy unties the book, the man screams, asking him to give it back. But inside, the knight's commander discovers the temple Bible and wonders if he really dared to take something from the sacred temple. But this is robbery, after which he says that this man should be taken away, to which the other knight agrees. When Wrathban turns to where the lady top is leaving, he realizes that the view from behind looks very familiar. But at the same moment, another knight cries out, as if to the captain, and claims that they have caught the accomplice. The man says that this is how it is, and suggests sending him to the knights immediately. When the guy turns back, he no longer sees the lady, and the other knight wonders if the commander is looking for someone, to which he replies that he is not. And turning around, he realizes that the saint cannot be there. A little while later, the main character is already in the city, but when she asks passers-by about this street, they all say that they don't know about it. A little while later, the girl sits down on a bench and realizes that she heard about people going to this street, but no one knows about it, and she doesn't even understand what to do. Well, at that very moment, the lady hears one of the men say that the guy has been on top lately, and she envies him. Another one also looks at the guy next to the lady and says that they will see how long this continues. To see this guy's attitude is so obvious that he will quickly get boring. And isn't that so? Well, his interlocutor at this time says that just like him, why is the guy embarrassed? And his colleague claims that he heard that the guy was asking about a good buyer, because he got an old cheap dagger that even the jewelry store threw out without looking at it. The main character at this time understands that this man is the one to whom the saint gave the dagger, and his friend at this time laughs and claims that he has a lot of fun every time he thinks about it. The saint's lover then leaves furiously, and the main character thinks what to do and whether to talk about him, but then he recognizes the saint's face. The girl follows him further, and when she enters an alley, she realizes that this is a street, just like the one she is looking for. The owner of one of the shops screams that since the guy sold this dagger, that's the end of it, and now he comes and demands more money, so let him get lost. At this time he screams that damn this damned miser, and next time, when he stumbles upon a good product, he will never sell it to him. Well, the traitor screams, calling the guy a scoundrel, and tells him to try to come again. At this time, the main character sees the blade and understands that it is there, after which she turns to the merchant and asks for forgiveness. At this time, the man wonders what the young lady is doing there and who told her about this place. The girl replies that she is there to buy a dagger and asks how much it costs. The man claims that he must sell it to the beauty cheaply, and she can take it for 50 dai. The girl understands that it is half a gold coin, and she did not take much money with her, so she is very lucky. But when the lady leaves and is going to give the coin, someone stops her and asks where such inflated prices come from. The main character immediately turns around and screams, "What is he talking about?" when she sees this guy's face. Then he understands that this is the crown prince, and the guy asks the young lady if this is true. A little while later, the lady says that the man wanted to sell it for 50 daiers, and the prince replies that if he had bargained some more, maybe they could have bought it for 3 daiers. Evelina immediately thanks him and claims that thanks to the prince, she bought this blade much cheaper, but she wonders what he wants in return. The guy at this time wonders why the lady came to this place, and the girl understands that this is what she is talking about, and she acted in a hurry. At this time, the blonde is wondering if she doesn't know how dangerous it is there, and what the captain of the Knights of the Temple is doing since he left the saint alone. Of course he would be angry, even if he was with her, and the girl understands that if the captain of the Knights finds out she will have big problems, after which she smiles and says that in any case, she is grateful for his help today. After which the lady wants to run away, but the prince screams for her to wait, and at that very moment, the lady sees a carriage approaching in front of her, after which the carriage passes by, splashing the swamp, and when the main character opens her eyes, she sees the crown prince in front of her. The girl immediately turns to him and thanks the guy who claims that he was unable to close her completely and will not make such a mistake next time. He will not allow dirty things to touch her and will definitely protect her. The main characters at this time understand that perhaps this person, he really loves her, and the girl pulls him a little closer. The blonde is embarrassed by this and turns to the saint. And the girl talks about love and claims that she is very confused, so she asks her to forgive him because it is because of her that he got dirty. A little while later, they are already in a clothing store, and the blonde asks if this outfit suits him. The main character asks if there were clothing stores on the other side, and if he really knows this street. Well, the guy replies that only a little, and about the address. Then he wants to ask the lady to call him simply Leyon. The heroine wants to object, but the guy approaches her and asks if she is going to reveal his identity there. The girl then understands what he is talking about and says that then he should also call her by her name. Well, the guy asks if her name isn't the only one on the entire continent, and the lady replies that it's true, and also understands that when a saint appears, people with the same name as the saint are obliged to change their name. Then the lady tells him to call her simply Lena, and the guy agrees, after which he calls her that, a little embarrassedly. The main character understands that he does not call her Saint Evelina, but by her real name. Then the blonde asks if Lena wants to explore the city, because he thinks, which can be her guide. The girl immediately agrees and claims that it sounds great, and as they head further, the lady points to a gutter. You ask what it is for. The guys answer that it is intended for collecting rainwater, and usually they build this in houses without running water. The girl then points to some other buildings, and the guy replies that this is a hotel, and they are so brightly decorated to stand out. This is a feature of cities with a lot of tourists. After which, the guy also asks if the saint is hungry, because there are several good snack options there, and he asks if the lady wants to try. The girl claims that everything looks very tasty there, but says that it is difficult for her to choose what to try. Meanwhile, the blonde guy brings all the possible snacks, and the girl thanks him, but claims that she doesn't think she can eat it all. The crown prince tells the lady to eat only what she wants, and then the main character tries one of the snacks and thinks how delicious it is. The guy watches her with a smile on his face, and a little while later, the lady asks what to do since she is so full. The guy says that in that case, she should choose the rest, but the girl says that it's a waste. After which, Leon bites off what the lady didn't finish. The main character turns to him, a little embarrassed, and says that she ate it, after which the guy says that he knows, and let her just throw it away. A little while later, they pass by the exhibition, and the main character notices a beautiful painting. The blonde claims that she seems to like it very much, and the girl replies that she sees these landscapes for the first time, after which she wonders if these are real places. The guy says, sure, then points to one of the paintings and claims that it's Hebelman Forest. It's a mysterious place where no matter where she goes, she ends up in one place. Then he points to another painting and claims that it's the Plateau of the Wolf King. Although there are no wolves there, but this place was named so because when the wind blows, it sounds like a wolf howl, after which he shows another place. But the main character remembers how she sat in the hospital, looking at the phone. It showed various places. The girl looking at them understood that she would like to go there, and now she tells the prince that she would like to go there. After which the blonde asks Lena, how about going together sometime? The girl is surprised by this, and then turns to Leyon, and he wonders if she can go with him. The guy smiles at this time, and then points to another picture and claims that it depicts a snowfield located in the northern part, and it is even cold there because he went there with the soldiers. The lady at this time is still thinking about what it means to go together, because while she is a saint in the great temple, this is impossible. A little while later, the guy brings the lady out of her thoughts and once again addresses her by name, and also wonders if she is coming back. The girl understands that if she were honest with Leyon now, she would ask him if he would help her escape. However, the lady remembers her mark and other problems, after which she says that yes, she needs to go back and finish some things. When the lady leaves, the blonde realizes that there is definitely a secret route, and since she wants to keep it a secret, he has to wait a little longer. The guy also wonders if the woman he met recently said that her name was Iris. A few days ago, a demonic beast appeared in a village located on the outskirts. Fortunately, the knights who were nearby ran and defeated it. However, by that time, many people had already been poisoned by the beast's venom, which led to death. One of the residents approached the priest and claimed that his body was burning, so he asked him to save him. Another woman asked the priest to look at her child, but the man replied that he could not because it was the poison of the demonic beast, Trante. Even high-level priests find it difficult to neutralize it. Well, at that very moment, one lady began to heal people. When people turned to her, they realized that their eyes were slightly shining and cried out in shock, "Is this really a saint?" The prince's informant claimed that when people went crazy, saying that a saint had appeared, the woman was said to have become frightened and ran away. The blonde man at this time claims that there cannot be two saints at the same time, and his informant claimed that this proves that the saint in the Great Temple is a fake. After all, hasn't he been trying all this time to defame the saint in the Great Temple? And now this is a great opportunity because they must protect that real saint. The guy answered that it was true and let him definitely find this woman and also find out who was behind it. A little while later, the main character sits in her office with a smile on her face, and one of the priests says that today the saint looks especially bright. Another states that he thinks the lady got more thanks from God by praying all day yesterday. The lady realizes that she found the dagger and slept well, so she will try even harder from today. Then the priest tells the saint that Captain Wrathban has arrived. The main character tells him to come in, and when the guy enters the room, she turns to the saint and also claims that he apologizes for the suddenness, but came there to get permission to take a day off. However, before the guy can finish speaking, the lady replies that she gives permission. The knight commander is a little surprised by this and wonders what she is talking about, since she needs to report the reason for the leave. Evelina claims that she is faithful, after which she asks what business he is leaving for Wrathban. Claims that according to the report of the knights accompanying the priest, Karl, on the way, his health suddenly deteriorated, and they conveyed that now it is difficult for them to move around, so the guy asks if he can go to meet them with high-ranking priests for his treatment. The girl thinks whether this man's health has deteriorated, and then says, which is understandable, and asks him to return safe and sound. When the guy leaves the room, he thinks that this is the first time, and he cannot believe that the lady allowed him to leave so easily. When he passes by several priests, one of them asks what kind of cape it is, and when did the lady wear something like that? Her colleague asks if she is talking about a saint, and who knows, she probably went out for a walk in it. When the brunette turns around and looks at the basket, he sees a cape there, identical to the one he saw that day. He immediately approaches the priests and asks if these clothes are really holy, to which one of the priests replies that yes, these are the saint's washed clothes, and did something really happen. The brunette understands that the view from behind really belonged to the saint, after which the guy turns around. Well, he thinks why the lady didn't tell the knights, and how she could take such a risk, and also leave the great temple alone, so the brunette decides to ask her directly. However, when he approaches the lady's office, he sees the crown prince there and thinks why he is there. When the blonde enters the office, he immediately addresses the lady as Lena, and the knight commanders wonder if he really calls her that, and the main character comes out to the prince and simply calls him Leyon. The girl says that he is just in time, after which the two enter the office, leaving the knight captain completely bewildered. A little while later, someone in his dressed guy from Thoughts and asks if he is okay, because he does not look very well. The brunette notes that everything is fine, but understands that the crown prince was then away, so he wonders if they were together outside the great temple. The guy is silent for a while after that, and then thanks the knights for their hard work in serving Priest Carl. Until now, the 3 high-ranking priests are in the process of healing so soon they can continue their journey. One of the knights agrees, but then claims that there is something he did not mention to him. After all, at the moment when the priest fell, what happened was that the outpost, after all, the condition of the priest, Carl, then was similar to symptoms of possession by magical power. Demonic beast. The brunette asks if they are talking about the demonic beast, but at that moment one of the priests leaves the room and tells the captain that the treatment is complete. The man thanks them for their efforts, and a little while later goes to see the priest. Carl, with a smile on his face, says that this is his old friend Wrathban. But how much time has passed? The guy with a smile on his face turns to the priest and says that they haven't seen each other for a long time. The man asks if he has chewed well all this time, to which the commander of the knights replies that of course, and also says that the priest Carl would probably have a hard time in a remote area. The man smiles in response and claims that someone had to do it. The guy understands that the priest Carl, who was always kind to everyone respected him and followed him, except for one person. But now in front of us, he asks how the priest feels, because he heard that the reason for his loss of consciousness is unknown, to which the man replies that he initially had poor health, but this happened for the first time. Anyway, everything is fine now, and it's all thanks to the efforts of the captain and the priests. Wrathban says, "What is he?" And the man says that, however, if the saint had come in person, there would have been no need to attract so many people. The brunette is thinking about what he is talking about, because no one can ask the saint for treatment, and moreover, he guesses about her hostility towards him. The man at this time asks how she is doing with her health. The captain of the knights answers that the saint is healthier than ever, and the man says, "What a joy!" Wrathban then turns to the priest Carl again and says that he must be tired after finishing the treatment, so he will leave him. The man says that it is okay if he stays longer, but the guy replies that if he does not answer, they will have time to talk properly on the way back to the great temple, after which he keeps saying that he will go. Well, when he leaves the room, he tries to comprehend all this. A little while later, he is already sitting on a horse, and one of the knights asks where the captain is heading. The guy replies that he is returning first. The main character is with the prince at this time, and he claims that all the fish in the Morton River turn golden only for 1 day a year. On this day, no fisherman goes fishing, and he also witnessed this phenomenon. It was blindingly beautiful, and the main character asks, "What is there then?" To which the guy replies that in this place you can seriously get hurt if you are not careful. The guy makes faces, and the main character smiles in response, and also asks, "What kind of place is the empire?" The lady understands that the imperial palace itself is also quite an interesting place, because it has existed and expanded for hundreds of years, and also there you can see the characteristics of each era. In a word, it is a living chronology of the architectural history of the continent. And the central market of the empire is where all the goods from the continent are collected. It is so big and confusing that it is impossible to see everything there in 1 day. Evelina says that for people like her who have difficulty navigating, this is a real problem. But the man says, so that she doesn't worry because he is Lena's loyal guide. Well, then the main character thinks that if Iris appears, the guy will eventually fall in love with her. After which the main character doesn't even know what to tell him. Leyon decides to continue the conversation and claims that he thought about it, that when there is another high priest, then a meeting will be held to choose the high priest, to which the lady replies that this is true and understands that the guy has changed the subject. The girl says that Captain Wrathban has gone to him and he will probably arrive before nightfall. But at that very moment, the mark on the main character's leg makes itself known, and the girl immediately drops the mug on the floor and writhes from some strange feeling. The prince, at that very moment, approaches the food and asks what happened. Well, the girl pushes him away and apologizes, but claims that she suddenly felt ill, after which she asks if he can return to himself, to which the guy agrees. Not a little while later, the main character rises and also understands that she is getting very hot. When the prince's hand touched her, the warmth of his body felt so sweet and pleasant. The lady understands that she can quickly return to the room before someone comes, because now she can't meet anyone. However, when the girl gets up, she feels very strange from below and thinks that this can't be Vitya. She's definitely gone crazy. But at the same moment, someone else knocks on the saint's door and claims that he has urgent business, so he asks if he can come in for a minute. The lady understands from her voice that it is Wrathban who is there. The guy claims that he has returned from a meeting with the priest Karl, and he has something to tell her, so he wonders if he can come in for a minute. But at the same moment, the main character screams that she can't and tries to muffle her moans. Renat screams at this time. Is the saint really feeling bad? And the lady understands that her body is getting hotter from below. After which, she understands everything that Wrathban is behind the door and screams for him to come in. But at the same moment, the lady takes control of herself and screams for him not to come in. At this time, the guy feels something is wrong, after which he opens the door and turns to the saint. The main character immediately closes her mouth and realizes that she has now smelled Wrathban. The brunette at this time claims that there is something urgent that he would like to ask her to confirm, but the girl screams that whatever it is, let him come later. He claims that it will only take a couple of minutes, so he asks to talk before it's too late. But the main character understands that she can't stand it anymore, and when she turns to the guy and looks at him, who thinks that this is good, and if only Wrathban would satisfy her. Well, the guy is standing still, and the main character asks him to open his mouth. The guy moves away and turns to the saint and also claims that she can't do that. But the girl at that very moment hugs him, after which she puts him down on the chair. The main character claims that she wants to hug him, and then puts her hand below the guy's waist. Brand at the same moment shyly grabs the lady, and the girl thinks why he stops her and what she should do to make him hug her, and how she can seduce this faithful knight. After which the lady turns to Wrathban, and with tears in her eyes, asks if he doesn't like her. At that moment, the main character hears the voice of the real Evelina, who laughs at her. The brunette, at this time, once again turns to the saint with embarrassment, and the girl immediately jumps up that this cannot be, and then runs away. A little while later, she runs into her room and thinks how she could do this, and what she should do, and also how she should calm down. At the same moment, someone else enters the room and addresses his female. The main character understands that it is Aslan, and the guy asks if she was waiting for him. But the girl thinks that he has finally come, and she is sure that he will be able to quench this thirst. The girl kisses him at the same moment, but Aslan notices something is wrong and claims that she smells like another male. But when the girl wants to say something, the guy just grabs her face, after which he bites his neck, and also wonders where this idiot touched her. The main character screams out of state, not what he thought, but the guy just throws her on the bed and grabs her hands, after which he approaches the lady and kisses her a little below the shoulders. The girl understands that it hurts a little, but there is also a very strange feeling. Aslan asks if he touched her in the wrong place, and then check another place. But at the same moment, the main characters turn to him and ask, "Give her more." The man immediately hangs over the lady and realizes that his female wants him. Much time later, the main character tells him to stop. The guy then looks at the lady and sees that she has already closed her eyes. He also claims that the girl is too weak and understands that he was going to give her the gift right away, but they did it again and again that there was no time for it, after which he uses magic and picks up the ring from his pocket. The man puts it on the lady and realizes that he heard she loves jewelry, so when she sees it, it will definitely make her smile brightly. The guy also realizes that he needs to remove these traces as soon as possible, but when he touches them, he thinks that this cannot be, and seeing the lady's reaction, he understands that these marks are connected with her arousal. Therefore, his female wanted him not of her own free will. The man gets furious and thinks who used such a vile spell, because he will definitely find this person and put him into eternal sleep. That must be why she smelled like another male. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. Believe they are all worthless, because in the end, it is his seed. Much stronger, however, he wants to monopolize this human woman. At the same moment, the man notices that someone is going there through a secret passage that the priests do not know about, so it means that it is someone simple. Aslan wonders if this is really the one who fights the demonic beasts. But this man is strong, and the guy thinks, is this the leader of the Knights Templar? The brunette wadding time goes down the corridor and thinks about the saint, and Aslan understands that this is the one who left traces on his female, after which he gets dressed and goes to him. A little while ago, the brunette was in his room and thought about the saint. Well, how the girl asked if he didn't like her, and how she ran away after that. When the brunette looked at his pants, he saw that he was already hard. No matter how much he repeated the prayers, he could not calm down. The guy remembers every time how the lady said that she wanted to hug him, after which he understood that he should never have such feelings for the saint. Tormented by his thoughts, he decided that he urgently needed to meet her. His purpose as a knight commander and his honor and everything he earned over the years of his life now seem vague, and the only ray of light is her, so he dares to even call the lady by her name. A little while later, the captain of the knights asks to be allowed to meet the saint, but the priest says that it will be difficult to meet her now, and it seems to him that the saint locked the door from the inside, after which the man asks why. One of the priests replies that most likely she wants to stay. However, as before, a little while later, the captain of the knights was already heading for the Jaw secret passage and was thinking what he was doing, because he should not secretly visit the saint, and it is better to go back before it is too late. Well, at that very moment he felt the magic and wondered where it was coming from and whether it was from the holy room. No problem. The brunette ran into that room, and when he passed through the door, an attack immediately flew at him, but the guy fought it off with his sword. The brunette immediately asked who this guy was and how he got inside the great temple, but he only greeted the hunting dog of the great temple and said that it would be better to say the one who dared to desire the lips of his own mistress. After which, the man with red hair went to the main character and, taking her in his arms, asked if he should just take her. The knight commander at the same moment asked how this man dared to touch the saint with his hands. Well, his interlocutor claimed that to his knowledge he is Aslan, and now the guy will at least know who finished him off. But the brunette screams for him to close his mouth, after which these two cross their powers, but at the same moment they hear someone crying, and when they look at the main character, they understand that it is she. A little while later, someone turns to Mr. Carl and says that this is the same priest, so they are glad that he has returned. The man thanks them all, after which he looks at the temple with satisfaction and claims that he is also glad to be back again. The main character at this time understands that she is again in this place, but Evelyn and the girl do not understand why she was there again. The lady looks at her foot and realizes that the reason she lost her mind is because of these marks. The lady also remembers Aslan saying that the first condition was that he erase these marks, but something like that takes a lot of time. If she is not capable of something like that, then why did she make this deal? The girl also thinks what happened in the end, and these fragments of memories are all she has. So the lady thinks if she knew a little more. At that moment, the girl notices something in the air, and when she touches it, memories immediately pop up. There, the high priest addressed little Evelina and claimed that she told her one thing, and the girl found out about everything. So she is simply amazing. The main character understands that these are the memories of the owner of this body. And then the lady noticed how Carl came. She also claimed that she had dealt with everything, and the man said that she was a smart saint because she was definitely the most beloved by God. Evelina understands that she sees this memory for the first time. And is this really the same one that Evelina hid from her? It is a good memory of where everyone loved her, so the lady thinks why she is hiding it, and understands that this is not enough, so she asks for memories. In it, the man addressed their saint, and claimed that a prayer meeting would begin very soon. And the girl said that everything was fine because she could handle it, even though this was her first time. The high priestess addressed some saint and claimed that she did not have to bless them all, so let her remember that if she got tired, she could stop the process at any moment. But the girl screamed that no, and she would cope, because Carl said that she was a person beloved by God, and that she should share her power with those who need her help, so she would try her best and help these people, and also not disappoint them. The main character understands that this is not it, because these memories are too emotional, and she needs to see the worst memories that Evelina wanted to hide. After which the lady sees how the girl was sitting on her bed, and saw how the mark appeared, after which she thought what to do, because the power that God gave her begins to disappear little by little. At this time, someone else was watching her from behind the doors. Well, at that very moment, someone grabs the lady, and it turns out to be the real Evelina. The woman screams how sorry she was, and how dare she look at her memories, showing that she is not finished yet, and she can have a little more. After which she touches another memory, and there it is clear that now the forces are again running out. After which people at all while plunge themselves into eternal sleep, and ask to just let him do it. The girl thought why her soul is reborn again. Well, someone destroys these memories, and the real Evelina screams. Did she really think that anyone could come there and steal her memories of girls? Without a murmur, asking what's wrong with that, if she sees them, and why is she hiding them? Evelina screams again, that stealing other people's memories is a lot. But Letty is interested in whether she herself did not bring Aslan to erase her traces, and she will erase them for her, and does whatever Letty wants. Well, at that very moment, Evelina begins to laugh loudly, after which he asks how boundless the girl's impudence is, since she says that she will do what she wants so much, and yet she shouldn't have visited her, and she should have held out to the last. The woman also throws the lady, and tells her to come back. She still has something she can use, and at the same moment, the girl opens her eyes, and the captain of the knights and the king of the magicians are wondering if she has come to herself. The main idea is that anything is a lot to lose consciousness. Wrathban immediately turns to the saint, and Aslan turns to her as a female. Wrathban immediately asks what he is talking about, and says that if the saint only orders, and he will immediately chop off this bastard's head. But the man asks if the ignorant hunting dog really started letting people in and desired his mistress. The girl immediately tells these two to calm down. Well, the man with red hair says that the lady should allow him to explain to her and this creature a very important thing, because the reason why she is so drawn to the boy is not because she wants it of her own free will, but in fact, this feeling is caused by complex witchcraft.